Are getting more details as far as the Al Falah University network is concerned. We're learning now that several students and the dean of the department has now been questioned by the police and several agencies that are now leading a coordinated effort to probe the matter. More than 52 people have been questioned so far is what we're learning, out of which 6 have been taken into custody. Anshul, my colleague, now joins us, getting us more details on this. We'll try and get you a sense of how deep really this rot runs inside the Al Falah University in Haryana. This is the Faridabad terror module that was busted yesterday. Several arrests have been made from Faridabad, from Uttar Pradesh as well. Now we're learning that several students and the dean of this particular university is also under the radar and has been questioned by agencies. The Al Falah University seems to be at the center of this entire conspiracy. All of the 4 doctors that have been accused of orchestrating this attack were linked to the Al Falah University, which is why the dean of the university is now under questioning. He is under the radar of the agencies that are looking at this terror attack. It is a coordinated effort that is being mounted by the police, by the NIA now as well. Anshul now joins us, getting us more details as well. Anshul, what more can you tell us about the investigation that's currently underway at the Al Falah University?
Well, since this morning, there are several teams of the Faridabad police that have already gone inside the Al Falah University and are trying to carry out a detailed interrogation as to who are the people who were close to the accused who have now been arrested, both the accused who have been arrested and the other accused who was actually, who could have been the person who was driving that vehicle. Till now, more than 52 people have already been questioned by the Faridabad police. Out of this, 6 people who were looking a bit suspicious, who were looking, who were working very closely with the 2 doctors, Dr. Shahina and Dr. Muzammil. They have been taken into custody, and further interrogation and further questioning is happening with them. Remember, CNN News 18 broke this afternoon that there is an HR who is under the suspicion at this point in time, because since the last few years that he has been working over here, the number of Kashmiris that have been enrolled into this university, either in form of students or in form of lecturers or educators, that number has increased significantly. So now the Faridabad police is trying to find out if at all the administration or the said HR was also a part of this nexus, where he was picking and choosing people from Kashmir and then were bringing them over here at Faridabad at the Al Falah University, and then further operations were being conducted. Remember, Dr. Muzammil, who has been arrested from over here with more than 350 kgs of explosive materials, he has been working at the Al Falah University for the last 3 years.
The other accused who was driving the car, Umar Muhammad, he has been working in this institute for the last 7 years. And Shahina, who has also been arrested by the JKB police, was working over here for the last 2.5 years. And what sources have told to CNN News 18 is that this woman was working very closely with Jaish Mohammed, and in fact was a part of the women's wing of Jaish Mohammed, and was given the specific task to go ahead and indoctrinate other people, other women to be a part of the organization, so that this entire white collar terrorism could go on under the behind the curtains. But the manner in which these exposes have happened, all their plans have failed. But to the bad luck, probably to the bad luck of the agencies, there was this one person, Dr. Umar, whom the police was searching for since the time the first arrest of Dr. Muzammil and Dr. Adil had happened. Since then, this person Umar was being searched, and finally, what sources are telling us that the person who could have been driving that i20 vehicle could have been Umar himself, who was working over here at the Al Falah University for the last more than 7 years.
Right, Anshul, do stay on with us. We have more information that's now trickling in. Even as the probe is intensifying, world leaders, nations are condemning this dastardly attack that we saw in Delhi. Afghanistan is the latest one to come out and condemn the terror attack near Red Fort in Delhi. A statement has now been issued on behalf of the Afghan administration that condemns this terror attack in Delhi, condoles the loss of lives as well. 8 people, remember, were killed in this blast yesterday. Siddhant now joins us, getting us more details. Siddhant, Afghanistan too joining the long list of countries that have sent their condolences.
Well, that's right. In fact, there's a statement which has come from the spokesperson of the Afghan government, and in fact, Afghanistan has condemned the explosion that occurred in the Red Fort area of New Delhi, claiming several lives. In fact, MOFA expresses its deep sorrow to the bereaved families as well as the government and people of India and wishes speedy recovery for the wounded. Now, since the blast, there has been support, condolences pouring in. First, it started from the embassy, ambassadors, high commissioners here in New Delhi. Now, in fact, the foreign offices, the foreign ministries of these countries have started sending condolence messages. And in fact, before this, it was Israel which has extended support to India and perhaps did mention that Israel condemns all acts of terror in the message. And now we have this statement coming from the spokesperson of the foreign ministry of the Afghan government, condemning the explosion that occurred in the Red Fort area of New Delhi. And in fact, MOFA also expresses deep sorrow to the families as well as to the government and people of India. Perhaps given the renewed ties between India and Afghanistan, the recent visit of the foreign minister Amir Khan Mustaqi, and also the kind of support, the political support India offered to Afghanistan during the conflict with Pakistan. Perhaps given that, in that context, this particular statement coming from the spokesperson is very, very significant.
Right, Siddhant, thank you so much for getting us the latest on that front. We will continue our coverage here, trying to piece together this entire conspiracy and who the perpetrators were behind the blast in Delhi yesterday that claimed 8 lives. But it is a wrap from my side here on this edition. But don't go anywhere. Our coverage here will continue.
Manoj Kumar Gupta getting us these details that Intel sources have said that there could be a possible use of an IED device, and they are looking at this incident at the Red Fort as a terror attack.
Vehicle is from the Shambura village in Pulwama, and guess where the Pulwama connection takes us? The Pulwama connection takes us back to the ongoing investigation and the crackdown on this entire module, and the originator and the mastermind and the first arrest also happened, and there is a Pulwama connection to this and a Jammu and Kashmir connection. Muzammil, his accomplices, the other doctors, the person in Faridabad, the Maulvi there from whom the house was rented, this guy who buys the car, and the other occupants of the car, were they all connected and were they all linked? That's going to be the biggest question mark right now.
Co-powered by. This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
On the cleric whose link has now emerged to all of these doctors and those moving from Jammu and Kashmir to Al-Falah University. This is a big CNN News 18 exclusive. We are decoding this man who's becoming an important figure behind this attack, Maulvi Irfan, who seems to have played a crucial role in radicalizing these medical doctors and students. He was a paramedic in exactly this college that we were talking about, in the government medical college in Srinagar, and was in touch with all students where they all studied. Later he was an imam in Nagaon Mosque. Remember, Nagaon is also the area where those posters.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
On the cleric whose link has now emerged to all of these doctors and those moving from Jammu and Kashmir to Al-Falah University. This is a big CNN News 18 exclusive. We are decoding this man who's becoming an important figure behind this attack, Maulvi Irfan, who seems to have played a crucial role in radicalizing these medical doctors and students. He was a paramedic in exactly this college that we were talking about, in the government medical college in Srinagar, and was in touch with all students where they all studied. Later he was an imam in Nagaon Mosque. Remember, Nagaon is also the area where those posters emerged first. So it's all really a web of link between all of these individuals and these places. For more on this, let me go across to my colleague Anand, who continues to be with us. Anand.
Well, this was the question, isn't it? Who was the person and how did these educated individuals get radicalized? That question is being answered by this fact that it is Maulvi Irfan who's the link towards radicalizing all these individuals. And how? Who named Maulvi Irfan? Arif Nisar Dar, Yasirul Ashraf and Maqsood Ahmad Dar. All three of them residents of Nogam, the OGWs who are putting these posters of the Jaish. Now, why is it, how is it that they knew Maulvi Irfan? Because he is the Maulvi of the Nogam Mosque. But where was he before he became a Maulvi of this Nogam Mosque? Irfan was a paramedic teacher. He was teaching them at the paramedic college of GMC. He was a paramedical at GMC Srinagar, Government Medical College Srinagar, where he came into contact with these people, Adil, Muzammil, Shaheen and Umar, because they were all students under him. So before he moved to the Nogam Mosque as a Maulvi, he was there, and that's when he came into contact with these students, with whom he continued to stay in touch via platforms like Telegram and Threema, encrypted platforms, and he was the Jaish recruiter and radicalizer. He was the one who the Jaish had recruited to try and seed these, sow these seeds of radicalization among educated minds and slowly convert them. What was he doing? Manoj Gupta getting us these details. He was in touch via VoIP or Voice over Internet Protocol. Again, encrypted platform, difficult to detect, with entities who are based in Afghanistan in Nangarhar. Nangarhar is the alternative base outside of Pakistan, training facility of the Jaish. And that's where his handlers were, and he was feeding them, again, vitriolic info, radicalizing videos, and also wartime Afghan videos which urge these men and these people to fight. Maulvi Irfan is the brains behind and the mastermind. Muzammil and Adil were the executors, whereas Shahina was the facilitator. She was the one who was supposed to collect funds. She was the benign, soft face who would perhaps get people to support them for their cause and collect funds. About 35 to 40 lakhs they had collected. But Irfan was the one who was supposed to have radicalized all these individuals, and they all received ideological
you for
guidance.
A brief minute, because we have the first pictures of those two doctors who have been arrested with 2,900 kilograms of explosives, timers and other material. The plot that they were making could have completely destabilized India and its major cities. This is Dr. Adil and Dr. Muzammil, who have been caught under the Al-Falah model. They both worked as doctors at the Al-Falah University. They all have links to this Maulvi that Anand was also describing, and possible links to Dr. Umar, who was the suspected man who was driving the car that was involved in the blast last evening, and Dr. Shaheen, that female doctor who has also been arrested. We have more on that female doctor also that is coming in. In fact, we can play that now, because Dr. Shaheen's first images have also been accessed. This is the Lucknow-based doctor who was arrested for the alleged involvement in this terror module, which is now spanning 3 states at least: Jammu and Kashmir, Haryana and UP. Saharanpur, Faridabad, Pulwama, Nagaon and Anantnag, Srinagar, all of these cities that are being mapped as far as this entire plot is concerned. One blast has been executed, but what we know from the agencies, of course, or from the findings and the discoveries, is that plan was much larger. Much larger, possibly multiple attacks and multiple blasts were being planned. They're all doctors by profession. This is what has shocked many. It's not entirely surprising. Not the first time a doctor or an engineer has been found to be involved in a terror plot or terror attack, but it has still shocked many, because this shows that radicalization has nothing to do with your background, with your opportunities, with your financial status or your educational status. Yes, and I'm coming back to you. First images accessed by CNN News 18 of those 3 doctors who are at the heart of those massive discoveries made by the police. and others.
But they have been radicalized since the time they were students. To complete your MBBS and to become doctors, it takes 4 to 5 years, and then for the last 3-4 years they've been also in practice. But all through, they have been in touch with Maulvi Irfan. And Irfan was a teacher, he was a paramedical at GMC, and where all of them were students. There is Umar Nabi, or Dr. Umar Nabi, who's the fourth in this, who's also involved, and they were all at the same place. And then Irfan, from being a paramedical, becomes a Maulvi and moves to the Nogam Mosque, from where the OGWs are pasting posters. So he is actually, over the years, busy sowing seeds of radicalization.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
On the cleric whose link has now emerged to all of these doctors and those moving from Jammu and Kashmir to Al-Falah University. This is a big CNN News 18 exclusive. We are decoding this man who's becoming an important figure behind this attack, Maulvi Irfan, who seems to have played a crucial role in radicalizing these medical doctors.
The last owner of this used vehicle is from the Shambura village in Pulwama, and guess where the Pulwama connection takes us?
These people are executioners, facilitators, planners, etc. But the mastermind is Maulvi Irfan, who has instigated them.
It's a joint link between Jaish and ISIS are coming and clubbing together for something like what happened in Delhi yesterday.
Targeting women who are professionals, who are highly educated, has been a modus operandi that terror groups have been following some time now.
How suspected to
Very good afternoon. You're watching CNN News 18. I'm Akanksha Swaroop. We continue to bring you all the live and latest updates on the Delhi car blast that shook the entire nation yesterday. But before that, we bring you the headlines. We're tracking this up. Prime Minister Narendra Modi makes a statement of intent from Bhutan, says agencies will go to the root of conspiracy, vows to not spare the perpetrators. Union Home Minister Amit Shah has chaired round 2 of a high-level security review meeting at his residence. The National Investigation Agency has taken over the Delhi terror blast investigation. The i20 used in the Delhi blast was illegally registered under Dr. Omar Nabi's name. Omar's kin now detained for questioning by police in Pulwama. More proof emerges of the Faridabad link. CNN News 18 accesses CCTV footage of the i20 car from October 29 in Faridabad. Blast car seen undergoing pollution check. Dr. Shaheen Shahid on radar of probe agency. Sources say she funded the attack linked to Al-Falah network under Lens. From Rauf Asgar's threat warning attacks in India to anti-India posters in Kashmir, Jaish link to Delhi terror blast under investigation as well. Israel and Afghanistan condemn Delhi terror blast, stand with India in fight against terrorism. It's a high-stakes battle as final phase of polling gets underway in Bihar. Stand by for the biggest exit poll coverage on CNN News 18. The Supreme Court is seeking ECI's response on pleas against voter roll revision terms issue, one of rectification and non-violation.
आज करीब 6:52 पे एक स्लो मूविंग व्हीकल जो रेड लाइट की तरफ आके रुका था, उसमें एक एक्सप्लोजन हुआ है।
बहुत बड़ा ब्लास्ट हुआ, वहाँ तक सीने पे धड़कन की आवाज़ गई।
high-intensity explosion occurred in a slow-moving Hyundai i20 car at a traffic signal near the Red Fort Metro Station around 6:52 p.m. on Monday evening. The Delhi Police, National Investigation Agency and National Security Guard are coordinating the entire probe as we speak. Investigators have established a direct link to a terror module recently busted in Faridabad, Haryana, where nearly 2,900 kilograms of explosives, including ammonium nitrate, were seized just hours before the Delhi blast. The seized material and the material used in the Delhi blast are suspected to be the same. Meanwhile, the Delhi police have registered an FIR and invoked UAPA in this case. The Union Home Minister is already chairing a second review meet shortly, and CNN News 18's Anand Narasimhan breaks down this entire terror trail as has been accessed by CNN News 18. Listen in.
CNN News 18 is going to try and piece together the entire trail of dominoes which allowed the security forces to try and unravel and unveil this entire trail of a terror plot that has now come to the fore, viewers. This is critical to understand that the 10-11 attacks of Delhi were planned by a radical mullah who has been in the garb of an educator and also then a Maulvi, radicalizing young impressionable minds, and that too educated minds, to turn them into white-collar terrorists. And this is nothing but the instigations and the radical thought processes of the Jaish. Now let's understand how it happened. The trail of what investigators now call white-collar terror module, or the Pulwama module, began to unfold in mid-October, when around the 17th of October 2025 there were posters, a chain of events that would eventually lead to one of the biggest terror crackdowns of the year. It started in Naugam, where posters of Jaish's message, Jaish-e-Mohammed's message, were put out, and they appeared overnight. A chilling reminder of the terror outfit's continuing propaganda across the valley. Now, one of these posters, usually what happens is they stick the poster, take an image, and then they remove the poster to avoid censure or being caught. But one of these OGWs forgot to take off the posters, and the posters remain. It alerted the agencies. The agencies then, within days, 3 OGWs were linked to this terror network. They were arrested or detained in Jammu and Kashmir. Further interrogation hinted at a much larger network that is currently operating. By the end of October, the investigation scope widened. Authorities questioned Maulvi Irfan Ahmad, took him into custody. He now is the key radicalizer. He is the one who is brainwashing these youth, because he was, now we CNN News 18 realizes and understands that he was a paramedic at the Srinagar Medical College, where all these terrorists now were students. And from there, he's been in touch with them. He moved on to become the Maulvi at the Naugam Mosque, where these OGWs were also regularly going for prayers. He is the ideological link in this entire growing chain. In the first week of November, Zamir Ahangar was also brought in for questioning. The focus now shifting towards a network of educated operatives, individuals, sympathizers who are highly radicalized and being motivated by Maulvi Irfan. Then came the breakthrough. During interrogation, Dr. Adil Ahmed, already in custody from Saharanpur, revealed a deeper conspiracy, one that pointed investigators towards Faridabad. So how did Adil Ahmed come under the radar? Because of this entire poster incident from Naugam. They realized that this person is in Kazigand. He is also part of this network who is connected with Maulvi Irfan and Zamir Ahangar. Adil, during interrogation, talks about Faridabad, and days later the Faridabad model was busted. Jammu and Kashmir police coming in, working with the Haryana police, raids are conducted that leads to recovery of not just weapons but a massive quantity of explosive making material, including ammonium nitrate, nearly 3 tons of explosive making material, confirming fears of a coordinated terror plan and a series of terror attacks that were being planned. On 9th of November, the investigators seizing over 2,900 kilograms of explosive material in Faridabad from the Fatehpur Taga village. The first cache was caught from the Dhauj village, all around this Al-Falah University, where now the key accused, Dr. Umar Nabi, Dr. Muzammil, Dr. Adil and Dr. Shaheen, all of them were operating or working in. Now, one of the largest seizures in recent history. The next morning, 2 more doctors, including Dr. Shaheen Shahid, were arrested. Both were linked to the Al-Falah University and now under intense scrutiny for the alleged infiltration by this entire module. The fourth suspect, Umar Nabi, believed to be the suicide operative, managed to evade capture and he was on the run. The authorities were closing in on him. That evening, on the evening of November 10th, a powerful blast near Delhi's Red Fort, leaving 8 people dead and several injured. Early forensic reports confirmed that the same i20 which Dr. Nabi was using was used in the attack, and the trail went back to Pulwama. Aides and friends of Nabi by the name of Amir Rashid, Umar Rashid and Tariq, all of them involved in purchase or a dodgy purchase of this car, which was continuously being used by these individuals who continue to operate in Faridabad at the Al Falah University. The i20 car has been seen at multiple times in the run-up. They paid their challans, they did their PUC, but their registration certificate here at CNN News 18 was shown was fake. Now this entire terror trail has been pieced together. The originators or the ideological fountainhead is the Jaish, because Maulvi Irfan was in touch with the Jaish operating out of Nangarhar via Trima, Telegram and also VoIP, Voice over Internet Protocol. And he was using these platforms to also send radical material to these students who he had cultivated over the last many years. That's how this entire module now shaped, and we pieced it all together to bring to you the entire story. How a small investigation, a small piece of information stumbled upon on the 17th of October leads to the crackdown of one of the most elaborate white-collar terror modules in recent times.
Alright, getting in breaking inputs from Kashmir in the wake of the Red Fort terror attack and its links to Jammu and Kashmir terror cells, the LG Manoj Sinha has chaired a high-level security review meeting in Srinagar. That's a breaking input we are bringing to you. Remember, the entire country remains on high alert, but particularly there's focus on Delhi, of course Uttar Pradesh, Haryana, the neighbouring states and all the way to Jammu and Kashmir. Ishan Wani brings me those breaking inputs. He's joining us on the broadcast. Ishan, what are you learning in terms of the security alert that's been issued not just across the valley but also in Jammu? Remember, the Yatris are also very much there. There is Katra, which is serving as a base camp. So what is the agenda of the security review meeting?
Well, it's clear that the Lieutenant Governor since few years have given clear instructions that no one should be spared when it comes to dealing with such incidents and particularly the cases of terror. And he was immediately called, meeting was chaired by him with the top officials of J&K Police Security Establishment to give him a briefing about how the situation has been and what are the details so far that have been done, because they have been working hard to destroy the ecosystem, and that is something which has been on the priority of the administration to ensure that those who have been able to, who are responsible for orchestrating, funding and funneling any of these activities, that they should be taken to task and they should not be spared. And that's a whole government approach, and that's why Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha chaired a meeting today at Raj Bhavan to ensure that the peace prevails and they're able to bring any such people who could be further out of this investigation for now to justice, and those who are responsible, a stringent action is taken against them. The clues and leads are there. The police is establishing them. He was also possibly briefed about how the situation is, what are the steps being taken in Jammu and Kashmir, because he is the head of J&K when it comes to security matters, and he heads the security apparatus of Jammu and Kashmir, and that's why his meeting with security officials becomes important. He has been trying to ensure that he gives clear and strict instruction to officials to deal with any such elements with an iron fist.
Stay with me here, Ishan. We have some more inputs to bring to our viewers. Important that we also highlight how the investigators were able to map the complete route of the Hyundai i20 that was used in the Delhi blast. Reports have indicated that this has been a Fedayeen attack, but let's piece it together. Those critical moments from over 50 CCTV cameras across the capital that were pieced together by various agencies that worked overnight to scan through these CCTV footages. The suspect vehicle was first spotted on camera in Faridabad around 7:20 a.m. According to the timeline, the car entered Delhi around 8 a.m., crossing into the city, that too through the Badarpur border. Just 20 minutes later, the car is captured on CCTV yet again, this time at an Qila petrol pump. By 1 p.m., the vehicle was captured on CCTV near the Kashmiri Gate, later seen moving through Daryaganj and eventually reaching the Sunehri Masjid around 3:19 p.m. in the afternoon. The car was parked between 3:19 p.m. and it remained parked till 6:48 p.m. moments before the explosion. At 6:52 p.m. to be precise, the blast occurred near the Red Fort. Investigators are now reconstructing this entire route using the CCTV footages and technical data to determine who was behind the wheel and what transpired during those final minutes. Those are some key critical questions that remain unanswered. But remember, the agencies are all burning the midnight oil to find answers to those questions. On that note, bringing you some more breaking inputs. Uttar Pradesh ATS is in fact, along with Jammu and Kashmir Police and the Lucknow Police, conducting joint raids at several locations in Lucknow. As we've also highlighted to you, the neighbouring states to the national capital are on high alert. That includes not just Haryana, even Uttar Pradesh. And what we can tell you right now, several joint raids being conducted in locations in Lucknow. Now, these, what we are being told, are in coordination with the Uttar Pradesh Police ATS, Jammu and Kashmir Police and the Lucknow Police, all of them conducting those joint raids. This especially after Dr. Shaheen has been arrested from Lucknow. Reports are indicating that she could perhaps also be involved in the funding of this entire terror attack. Most importantly, the use of females in these terror modules is now becoming even more active, something that has been observed in the past as well, whether it's the PFI, whether it is the ISIS or the Al-Qaeda. Now, this kind of a transnational interstate terror module, hinting that this could have been a pan-India exercise. But as of now, what we can tell you is that the Uttar Pradesh Police, along with the ATS and the Jammu and Kashmir Police, are conducting joint raids at several locations in Lucknow. Anshul joins me live on the broadcast with more inputs. Anshul, if you could give us a sense of what is the agenda behind these raids, what locations have been zeroed in by the authorities?
Well, Dr. Shahina, who has been arrested by the Jammu Kashmir Police yesterday itself, in fact, she was being questioned by the JKP for the past many days. Remember, the assault rifle that was recovered was recovered from the vehicle of Dr. Shahina herself, the Swift vehicle, and along with that, magazines were also recovered. Now, yesterday, the Jammu Kashmir Police decided to go ahead and take her into custody and eventually arrest her. Post that, these SOPs are being followed, where the searches are being conducted at the places where Dr. Shahina used to stay or had any connections with. One of those places is this Al-Fatah University, in which yet again there has been searches that has been going on since morning itself. And apart from that, her native place in Lucknow, her parents, her family, her friends, all of them are being questioned at this point in time to figure out if at all they knew that she was a part of this larger nexus that was propagating their thoughts over here, specifically in North India, and the manner in which they got in touch with these two other doctors from Jammu and Kashmir, who were yet again faculties over here in the same university. Now, what sources have confirmed to CNN News 18 is that Shahina was given a very specific task. She was a part of the Jaish-e-Mohammed women's module, and she was given this very specific task that she should not only help the others in transporting of these contrabands or assault weapons, but also she would help in going ahead and influencing more people, more women inside the university as well. And that is particularly the reason that both JKP Police, Faridabad Police and the central agencies have all zeroed down to this university over here, where they have already questioned more than 50 people from the university. 6 people have been taken into custody, where further questioning is happen over here in Faridabad.
Stay with me. Let's quickly, bring in more breaking inputs coming in from Lucknow itself. Staying with Lucknow, what we are learning, as Anshul was highlighting, that these joint raids are currently being conducted by the NIA, the ATS and the Jammu and Kashmir Police. All of them have arrived at the residence of Dr. Shaheen Shahid in connection with the Delhi car blast case. As we've been highlighting, that Dr. Shaheen is going to play a very critical role in the overall investigation, not just because the role that women have been playing in these terror modules, but remember, as Anshul was highlighting, she's also suspected to have been playing a critical role in the transfer of this kind of weaponry, could perhaps also be involved with the funding. The questioning of Dr. Shaheen's father is also on. Let's quickly go across to Eshan Mani, who's joining me on the broadcast. He continues to stay with us. So, let's talk about Dr. Shaheen first. Who is she? Why is her interrogation so critical at the moment as we speak? Ishan, remember her father is already being interrogated, but much is being talked about the role that Dr. Shaheen has played in this entire car blast case.
Akansha, if you recall, yesterday we were reporting from the vehicle which was recovered near that rented accommodation, and from where the weapon was recovered. It belongs to Shaheen, and she is the one on whose name that HR vehicle is registered. It's different from the one which carried out an attack, and that's where her first link emerged. And then later on, investigation found that they were close. She was very close with Muzammil, and from there the investigation picked up. She was detained later on and then arrested, questioned, and sources indicating that she could be the one who was also trying to gather funds, money, because police has said that they were trying to get money from professionals, academicians, and others to say that they are crowdsourcing funds to help people to manage some houses, to ensure that they help poor people. But that money, according to police, was reaching to those hands who were giving them transportation, who were helping them logistically, providing and buying of IED material and buying of weapons, and that's what the money was used for.
Okay.
So the entire investigation, this clue is important, and that's why the NIA, JNK police and the ATS is at her residence.
Stay with me, Ishan and Anshul, because as you rightly highlighted, Dr. Shaheen's interrogation is going to prove very critical for this entire investigation. Perhaps also piece together the connect between the Jammu and Kashmir and the Delhi module. The crucial terror link is Dr. Shaheen at the moment, not only because she's a woman doctor from Lucknow, she's linked to the Al-Falah network as well. It's being suspected that perhaps the university and the lab in Al-Falah could have also been used to produce RDX. The link between Delhi and Kashmir module could only emerge after the entire interrogation of Dr. Shaheen. She made multiple visits to Kashmir, as something was being highlighted by Ishan also. She collected funds for the group, an AK rifle recovered from her car as well. She's used her profession to dodge scrutiny. That's a very critical point that we must take forward with Ishan and Anshul. So let's quickly go back to Ishan before I take that question with Anshul as well. So Ishan, if I could come back to you on the role of white-collar terrorism that we are looking at now, this kind of radicalization. Many are saying that terrorism has moved from the mountains to the mind. Is the Delhi car blast bearing testament to this kind of white-collar terrorism?
Well, yes, this is not new. These outfits have been trying to ensure that they take the cream out of the society, and those who are professional, young minds, who they can dilute and then take on quote-unquote what they call mission to destabilize India. Because yesterday when you saw the press release come in, there were two important points that we have to learn from that. One was that there was a mention of ISIS, which is a different ideology, and then Jaish-e-Mohammed, which is a different ideology. Jaish is focused on Kashmir. They want Jammu and Kashmir to be separated from India, while the ISIS is about global jihad and spread of Islam across the globe, and they want to do it through the might of the force. So these two different ideologies who never fit in came together, and that's what the police press release said. But when we read it, as a journalist, you will get alerted that these two different outfits have come together. They might have had differences, but it seemed like to ensure that they get the best of the society and they're able to work in a very closely knitted atmosphere where the person who is not trustworthy is not taken inside, or a person who they believe can harm their cause, quote unquote cause, they will not never take them inside that group. And that's why you see professionals, somebody who has had a track record of being a doctor. Some of them have had the best of medical records in terms of their education. Some of them have pursued well and performed well during their MBBS studies. But then you see that certainly radicalization, how their minds are changed, how their thinking is changed, and they're brought on a path where they're made enemy of their own country. So that is what is alarming and alerting, and one has to see that what happens in the next coming days, because that is something which is concerning for the officials in Jammu and Kashmir.
Absolutely. Let me quickly go back to Anshul. Anshul, taking that point forward as was being made by Ishan also over there. You're looking at, say, a time frame of less than a month, because remember, the posters first surfaced on October 19 in Nowshera, and by 10th of November, the blast had already taken place. Investigators are also of the view that this is the same kind of playbook now shaping up, like the way we've seen the ISI resort to attacks back in the 90s and the 2000s as well. Why should Indian agencies now be concerned, given that this perhaps could just be the beginning of a transnational terror module that investigating agencies are looking at?
Well, this is a massive wake-up call for the intelligence agencies and for all the agencies that are looking into this entire matter. There are some things that have been found different, which is not according to the experience specifically of Delhi police. First of all, the white-collar terrorism, the cream of the society, as Ishan was mentioning, that the cream of the society is being handpicked, and then they are being brainwashed to take up this fight for so-called jihad. Whereas the other point that should be noted is the kind of explosive that has been used. Generally, even IED or RDX that is used, there are splinters, there are wires that are placed in that explosive device, so that once it explodes, it could hurt more and more people. But this time around, instead of using that kind of bomb, a sophisticated technology was utilized in which.
अरे उनको गेट पे आ जाने दो, गेट पे आने दो, अरे ऐसे नहीं हो पाएगी, ऐसे नहीं हो पाएगी। हमें कहना था सब बता दिया आप लोग को। एक आदमी क्या बातचीत हुई है दादा? हमारे घर की तलाशी हुई है बस, और कुछ नहीं। घर की तलाशी में क्या क्या? कुछ नहीं मिला। शायद जी आपके कितने बच्चे हैं? सुनिए, कितने बच्चे हैं आपके? आपके मीडिया वालों को हम सब बता चुके हैं। अरे वो मीडिया गई उससे हम नहीं बताएंगे। हम बार नहीं बताएंगे, नहीं बताएंगे। आप कोर्ट से ऑर्डर ले आइए तो भी नहीं बताएंगे। क्या बात हुई? कुछ नहीं कहना है। अभी क्या बात हुई? हमें कुछ कहना ही नहीं है। All
right, so let's quickly go back to Anshul, who continues to stay with us. Those are, in fact, the press over there outside the residence of Dr. Shahid's father. He's completely refused to speak to the press. He's saying that even if you come up with a court order, I will not share any details. The police were not able to find anything in my house. My house has no such arms and ammunition that they were looking for. Anshul continues to stay with us. Anshul, the interrogation of Dr. Shaheen's father has already happened. Doesn't seem that they've been able to find anything. But what does this speak? The way these white-collared, radicalized individuals have been operating in isolation, because remember, many families that Ishan also reached out to of these individuals who are allegedly involved, their family members were equally unaware.
Well, definitely, this is absolutely surprising to see, and as you rightly mentioned, that Ishan spoke to all those family members of those people who were stationed in Pahalgam, and they also said that they had no idea that something like this was happening, and this is becoming a massive challenge for the intelligence agencies as well, because remember, this is for the first time that white-collar terrorists have been seen on ground, have been seen trying to carry out such a massive operation, specifically out here in the national capital and the NCR region. Apart from that, it is also very pertinent to note that the kind of explosives that has been used, these are sophisticated explosives and not normal IEDs or RDX-laden bombs that are generally used by terrorists, because this time around the carter that should have been found, that was not seen on ground. There should be sharpeners, there should be wires that should be in those IEDs. That was something that was not there. Probably a small quantity of explosives were used, and the explosion was amplified, is what sources are telling us, is that the explosion was amplified by the specific use of a CNG tank that was behind the vehicle. The vehicle was selected specifically because of its CNG features, because of CNG the inflammable material increases, so the quantity of the bomb could be explosive materials that could have been used could have been lesser, but the explosive materials that were present inside the vehicle, such as the CNG tank, such as the fuel tank of the vehicle, these were something that were present over there, and that is probably the reason why the explosion happened on the rear end of the vehicle when the person was driving that vehicle alone, all by himself. So definitely there are a lot of new experiences for the agencies to learn from this, but definitely the manner in which this case has opened up, it is definitely a massive wake up call, because if at all that CCTV would not have come out where people were seen pasting those posters in Kashmir, then probably this entire nexus would not have come out, and probably a much larger attack could have happened on the soils of a country, or probably in the national capital itself.
Absolutely, and we still don't know how many more terror modules are thriving in the country. Remember, this could perhaps just be the beginning of unraveling of many of those terror modules. But News 18's Rishabh Mani spoke to one of the neighbors of Dr. Athar Parvez Ansar, as we've been talking about, whether it's the family members or even the neighbors. All of them seem to have been extremely ignorant of their activities, because it seems that this kind of radicalization has been happening in isolation. Listening to the kind of reactions that have come.
देखिए, मैं इस वक्त राजधानी लखनऊ के मडियाव इलाके के मुतक्कीपुर गांव में मौजूद हूं, और यहां पर जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस और यूपी एटीएस की एक टीम ने सुबह 6 बजे छापेमारी की है। डॉक्टर परवेज अंसारी का ये घर है जहां पर छापेमारी हुई है। डॉक्टर परवेज अंसारी यहां की एक जो प्राइवेट मेडिकल यूनिवर्सिटी है, इंटीग्रल यूनिवर्सिटी से एसोसिएटेड हैं। ये चीज हालांकि कोई नहीं बता पा रहा कि वहां पर वो एक डॉक्टर के तौर पर काम करते हैं या वहां पर पढ़ाते हैं। डॉक्टर परवेज अंसारी के इस घर का ताला तोड़ा गया है। ताला तोड़कर यूपी एटीएस और जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस की टीमें अंदर दाखिल हुई हैं। उन्होंने अंदर सर्च किया है और उसके बाद ये पुलिस अपना ताला लगाकर यहां से गई है। आसपास के लोगों से हमने जो बातचीत की है, उनका ये कहना है कि डॉक्टर परवेज अंसारी रात में आते थे और सुबह सुबह फिर निकल जाते थे, और इस कार का इस्तेमाल वो आने जाने में कर रहे थे। और जब हालांकि इस इलाके के लोगों को कहना है कि 3-4 महीने से इस घर में ताला बंद है, लेकिन इस कार को देखकर ऐसा नहीं लगता कि इसको काफी दिनों से इस्तेमाल ना किया गया हो। ऐसा देख के लग रहा है कि हाँ, इसका इस्तेमाल किया जाता है। और इसके ऊपर इंटीग्रल यूनिवर्सिटी का ये गेट पास भी लगा हुआ है, जिससे बात साफ हो जाती है कि डॉक्टर परवेज अंसारी इंटीग्रल यूनिवर्सिटी से एसोसिएटेड हैं। ये भी जानकारी मिल रही है कि यहां से छापेमारी के बाद जो एटीएस और जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस की टीम है वो इंटीग्रल यूनिवर्सिटी के लिए निकल गई है। ये बात भी सामने आई है कि जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस और यूपी एटीएस की एक टीम राजधानी लखनऊ के खंडारी बाजार इलाके में गई है। ये बताया जा रहा है कि खंडारी बाजार इलाके के ही मूल रूप से रहने वाली है डॉक्टर शाहीन शाहिद, जिसको गिरफ्तार किया गया है। पर कितने बजे यहाँ पर पुलिस की टीम आई होगी?
8:30 का हमने अलार्म लगाया था उठने के लिए, क्योंकि कॉलेज जाना रहता है। उसी के बाद हम लोग दूध लेके आए अंदर, उसी के बाद गाड़ी की आवाज आई थी। फिर आके बाहर देखा तो बहुत ज्यादा फोर्स थी। हम समझे कि प्रधान जी हैं यहाँ पे, तो क्या पता उनसे मिलने उलने के लिए कोई आया होगा, ऐसा देखा। फिर हम लोग चले गए अंदर।
तो डॉक्टर परवेज अंसारी यहाँ कब से रह रहे हैं, कुछ आपको?
ये सब मुझे नहीं पता, क्योंकि मैं खुद 2-3 महीने से इधर रह रहा हूँ बस।
तो क्या 3-4 महीने से मकान खाली पड़ा था?
नहीं, वो आते जाते थे, तो वो अब उनका जो रूटीन है उसके हिसाब से हम लोग कभी बाहर निकले तो दिख गए। ऐसा नहीं है कि वो खाना खा के टहलने के लिए आते हैं, कुछ भी नहीं। बस वो नमाज पढ़ने जाते थे, वो कभी दिख गए, फिर जब आते थे कभी गाड़ी खड़ी करके अंदर चले गए। ऐसा हम लोग कभी यहाँ बाहर घूमते भी नहीं, या तो बाहर कहीं और चले जाते हैं या तो रूम में रहते हैं।
डॉक्टर परवेज अंसारी की क्या परिवार यहाँ साथ में रहता?
नहीं, सिंगल पर्सन, वो अकेले रहते थे इधर।
अकेले? क्या उम्र होगी कुछ?
एज मेरे ख्याल से उनकी तो 35 के आसपास शायद एज लग रही थी, अब ऐसे नहीं बता सकता।
The last owner of this used vehicle is from the Shambura village in Pulwama, and guess where the Pulwama connection takes us?
These people are executioners, facilitators, planners, etc. But the mastermind is Maulvi Irfan, who has instigated them.
It's a joint link between Jaish and ISIS are coming and clubbing together for something like what happened in Delhi yesterday.
targeting women who are professionals, who are highly educated, has been a modus operandi that terror groups have been following some time now.
Co-powered by. This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
On the cleric whose link has now emerged to all of these doctors and those moving from Jammu and Kashmir to Al-Falah University. This is a big CNN News 18 exclusive. We are decoding this man who is becoming an important figure behind this attack, Maulvi Irfan, who seems to have played a crucial role in radicalizing these medical doctors and students. He was a paramedic in exactly this college that we were talking about, in the government medical college in Srinagar, and was in touch with all students where they all studied. Later he was an imam in Nagaon Mosque. Remember, Nagaon is also the area where those posters emerged first. So it's all really a web of link between all of these individuals and these places. For more on this, let me go across to my colleague Anand, who continues to be with us. Anand.
Well, this was the question, isn't it? Who was the person and how did these educated individuals get radicalized? That question is being answered by this fact that it is Maulvi Irfan who's the link towards radicalizing all these individuals. And how? Who named Maulvi Irfan? Arif Nisar Dar, Yasirul Ashraf and Maqsood Ahmad Dar. All three of them residents of Nogam, the OGWs who are putting these posters of the Jaish. Now, why is it, how is it that they knew Maulvi Irfan? Because he is the Maulvi of the Nogam Mosque. But where was he before he became a Maulvi of this Nogam Mosque? Irfan was a paramedic teacher. He was teaching them at the paramedic college of GMC. He was a paramedical at GMC Srinagar, Government Medical College Srinagar, where he came into contact with these people, Adil, Muzammil, Shaheen and Umar, because they were all students under him. So before he moved to the Nogam Mosque as a Maulvi, he was there, and that's when he came into contact with these students, with whom he continued to stay in touch via platforms like Telegram and Threema, encrypted platforms, and he was the Jaish recruiter and radicalizer. He was the one who the Jaish had recruited to try and seed these, sow these seeds of radicalization among educated minds and slowly convert them. What was he doing? Manoj Gupta getting us these details. He was in touch via VoIP or Voice over Internet Protocol. Again, encrypted platform, difficult to detect, with entities who are based in Afghanistan in Nangarhar. Nangarhar is the alternative base outside of Pakistan, training facility of the Jaish. And that's where his handlers were, and he was feeding them, again, vitriolic info, radicalizing videos, and also wartime Afghan videos which urge these men and these people to fight. Maulvi Irfan is the brains behind and the mastermind. Muzammil and Adil were the executors, whereas Shahina was the facilitator. She was the one who was supposed to collect funds. She was the benign, soft face who would perhaps get people to support them for their cause and collect funds. About 35 to 40 lakhs they had collected. But Irfan was the one who was supposed to have radicalized all these individuals, and they all received ideological guidance.
For a brief minute, because we have the first pictures of those two doctors who have been arrested with 2,900 kilograms of explosives, timers and other material. The plot that they were making could have completely destabilized India and its major cities. This is Dr. Adil and Dr. Muzammil, who have been caught under the Al-Falah model. They both worked as doctors at the Al-Falah University. They all have links to this Maulvi that Anand was also describing, and possible links to Dr. Umar, who was the suspected man who was driving the car that was involved in the blast last evening, and Dr. Shaheen, that female doctor who has also been arrested. We have more on that female doctor also that is coming in. In fact, we can play that now because Dr. Shaheen's first images have also been accessed. This is the Lucknow-based doctor who was arrested for the alleged involvement in this terror module, which is now spanning 3 states at least: Jammu and Kashmir, Haryana and UP. Saharanpur, Faridabad, Pulwama, Nagaon, and Anantnag, Srinagar, all of these cities that are being mapped as far as this entire plot is concerned. One blast has been executed, but what we know from the agencies, of course, or from the findings and the discoveries, is that plan was much larger. Much larger, possibly multiple attacks and multiple blasts were being planned. They're all doctors by profession. This is what has shocked many. It's not entirely surprising. Not the first time a doctor or an engineer has been found to be involved in a terror plot or terror attack, but it has still shocked many because this shows that radicalization has nothing to do with your background, with your opportunities, with your financial status or your educational status. Yes, and in coming back to you, first images accessed by CNN News 18 of those 3 doctors who are at the heart of those massive discoveries made by the police and others.
But they have been radicalized since the time they were students. To complete your MBBS and to become doctors, it takes 4 to 5 years, and then for the last 3-4 years they've been also in practice. But all through, they have been in touch with
Welcome back. The deadly Red Fort blast that shook Delhi and claimed at least 8 lives has now drawn the immediate attention of Prime Minister Narendra Modi and the Raksha Mantri Shri Rajnath Singh. Prime Minister Modi, while speaking from Bhutan, in fact even said that the conspirators behind the Red Fort were there and that India will not spare those. But we are getting in some breaking inputs at the moment. Another set of CCTV visuals of that I20 car that was the car behind the car blast in Delhi has now finally surfaced. This CCTV footage is from the Badarpur toll plaza. Remember, it was at around 8:15 a.m. that this car entered Delhi from the Badarpur toll plaza. That very moment has been captured while this Hyundai i20 was entering the national capital from that toll plaza at Badarpur. Those are the visuals on your screen. The suspect Omar is even seen in the CCTV visuals. Remember, these CCTV footages that CNN News 18 has been bringing to you have all been captured by various authorities, from the Delhi police to the NIA. All of them have been working together in tandem overnight, piecing together over 200 footages of these CCTV camera clips. The suspect Omar is wearing a mask, as you can see in that footage. The CCTV footage is from 8:13 a.m. to be precise, because remember, it was at 8:15 a.m. that this I20 entered Delhi from Badarpur. This is when Omar was behind the wheel. He can be spotted in these CCTV visuals that we are bringing to you from the Badarpur toll plaza while entering Delhi from this toll plaza. Earlier, the suspect Omar's I20 car passed in front of the Asian hospital. That is between 7 and 7:30 a.m. when the car was spotted in front of the Asian hospital in Faridabad at 7 a.m. This footage that we are bringing to you is from yesterday, 10th of November at 8:13 a.m. at the Badarpur toll plaza. Let's quickly go across to Anshul, who continues to stay with us on the broadcast. Anshul, a very, very important piece of CCTV footage being accessed by the authorities over there. This clearly is going to play a very pivotal and critical role in piecing together the entire modus operandi of yesterday's blast.
Well, definitely, this will clear out 2 things. The first thing is that the police will be able to find out from where were these explosives picked up, if at all these were picked up from the locations that were actually seized by the Haryana police and Jammu Kashmir police yesterday itself, or were there some other centers that were made to keep smaller quantities of explosives aside, because this is just one person who was at the run for the past at least a week and a half since the time this investigation was going on, and he had these explosives in his hand. Apart from that, what sources in the police have also told us that a detonator was also used. So from where were these materials sourced? This entire route that is being charted out by the authorities at this point in time, this will clear this out, that from where these explosive materials and the detonators were picked up, and then eventually what routes were taken. As we have told our viewers that first the first spotting of the said vehicle happened inside Faridabad near Asian Hospital at 7:20 a.m. Then they cross the Badarpur border. Then they get into New Delhi and refuel their tanks from Okhla Okhla itself, and then take the outer ring road towards Kashmiri Gate, and then from Daryaganj side they reach towards the Suneri Masjid parking, where they parked the vehicle for 3 hours, waited for the crowd to gather over there so that more and more people could gather. And as soon as the peak hours of the national capital started, which is approximately between 6:45 to at least 8 p.m. It is at that point that at 6:55 they went. He went
Anshul,
ahead.
it also the entire piecing together of these CCTV footages is raising some very critical unanswered questions at the moment. What was Omar doing for these 3 hours between say 3 p.m. and that 6:48 p.m. when the car was eventually detonated? A, B, how could he escape so many security checks? Were there security checks at all? You're looking at at a toll plaza. You're looking at say a critical area like the Red Fort, where we've seen there's heavy police barricading, and yet he managed to escape.
Well, if you look at the modus operandi that has been applied, this is unlike any other blast in which huge amounts of explosive materials are used. In this particular case, apart from the material that was used to make sure that the explosion is of a large intensity, a CNG vehicle was utilized. The petrol tanks were absolutely full, which meant that whenever a blast happened, specifically in the rear end of the vehicle, this will have a massive impact, because flammable material, apart from the explosive material that is inside the vehicle, that will have an impact on having a larger explosion. So this is a new kind of modus operandi that has been utilized this time around, and that is the reason why that they were able to escape through all these CCTV footages, all these CCTVs, and then also park themselves inside a parking at the Suneri Masjid, and that is a fresh challenge for the authorities at this point in time to somewhere or the other work intelligently and make sure that such terrorists are not allowed to gather such huge amount of explosive material.
Even though Omar Nabi is being treated as the suspected Fidai in Qila over here in this entire blast case, but the ownership of the i20 is also come to the forefront. Why so?
Well, if you look at this vehicle is very suspicious in itself, and this is also a part of their planning, that the vehicle that they will utilize, that the authorities should not be able to reach the owner very easily. The first owner was Salman. He sold it to another person in Gurugram, and then that person sold it to a third person in Faridabad, and then eventually this was taken by Amir himself on the name of Tariq, who is unknown to him and is a part of this entire nexus. So they were creating these webs to make sure that the authorities, even if they are able to find the vehicle, they are not able to reach the owners very easily. Another thing that is very pertinent to note, that the documents were all legitimate. We have seen those CCTV footages where the pollution of the vehicle was being done. The vehicle had a valid insurance just to make sure that no police officer actually stops them or frisks them if at all they do not have their valid papers. So all those papers were also made. So this entire plan was made in such a way that an unsuspicious vehicle, an i20, which is a very common vehicle out here in the national capital and across the country as well, that vehicle was used. That vehicle had a CNG tank, which was also filled to the capacity, so that more flammable material should be present inside the vehicle. Once the explosion happened, all these things came together, and then eventually this massive blast happened, in which at least 6 to 7 vehicles got damaged and several people got injured and lost their lives.
Thanks to you, Anshul, for bringing us all those inputs. As and when more information keeps trickling in, we will keep coming back to you and Ishan. But important to highlight right now, just overnight, how the Faridabad module has been busted by all of these agencies, whether you're looking at the Jammu and Kashmir police all the way to the Haryana police or the Delhi police and the NIA. It all began on 27th of October when posters supporting the JEM or Jaish-e-Mohammed surfaced in Srinagar. On 28th of October and up until 3rd of November, 3 overground terror workers were also arrested by the Jammu and Kashmir police. By then, they had already swung into action and the entire investigation had started moving beyond Jammu and Kashmir. What happened between 3rd and 5th of November? The OGWs reveal a link to Maulvi Irfan. Remember, he's the kingpin. He's the man who radicalized the Kashmir doctors, 3 of them. And these were the doctors who orchestrated the entire plan. Between 3rd and 5th of November, the Jammu and Kashmir police nab Maulvi Irfan. It is during the interrogation when they are led all the way to Faridabad, even Saharanpur in Uttar Pradesh. Between 3rd and 5th of November, Maulvi Irfan has revealed these leads of the 3 doctors involved in the Faridabad module, including Dr. Adil, Dr. Muzammil, Dr. Shaheen. Remember, she is the lady doctor who has been arrested from Lucknow. Between 5th and 7th of November, again, joint teams nabbed Dr. Adil Ahmed from Saharanpur. Dr. Adil had fled from GMC Anantnag with an AK-56 rifle which was discovered in his locker as well. Between 6th and 8th of November, Maulvi Irfan reveals the role of his aide Zamir Angar, who leads the probe team to then Dr. Muzammil in Faridabad. Yesterday in the morning, the entire cache of close to 2,900 kilograms of bomb-making paraphernalia was recovered from 2 rooms in Faridabad. On 9th of November, these raids at Faridabad residence leads to this massive seizure of ammonium nitrate. Not just ammonium nitrate, timers, detonators, all of them recovered. 9th of November itself, the police teams nabbed Dr. Muzammil's friend, Dr. Shaheen, from Lucknow, an AK rifle found in her car linked to her. And on 10th of November, the cops begin searching for Dr. Muzammil's associate, Dr. Omar Nabi. He's the Fidai who was behind the wheel when the blast happened. The latter suspected to be the driver of the blast car in the Delhi. CCTV footages of him we have already shown you as far as the access is concerned from the toll plaza. Now, the deadly Red Fort blast that shook Delhi and claimed at least 8 lives has now, of course, drawn the immediate attention of Prime Minister Modi. Remember, he's in Bhutan. And the Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has also reacted. Prime Minister Modi, while speaking from Bhutan, said the conspirators behind the Red Fort blast will not be spared, and assured that all those responsible will be brought to justice. He's expressed deep sorrow over the incident and said the entire nation stands with the victims, their families, adding that he had been in touch with investigative agencies throughout the night. The Raksha Mantri Shri Rajnath Singh echoed the Prime Minister, saying a swift and thorough inquiry under anti-terror laws is also underway while Delhi remains on high alert. Listen in to the reactions that have come in.
इस घटना की जांच में जुटी सभी एजेंसियों के साथ, सभी महत्वपूर्ण लोगों के साथ संपर्क में था, विचार विमर्श चलता था, जानकारियों के तार जोड़े जा रहे थे। हमारी एजेंसियां इस षड्यंत्र की तह तक जाएगी। इसके पीछे के षड्यंत्रकारियों को बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। All those responsible will be brought to justice.
Well, a warning very reminiscent of Prime Minister's message delivered in April during Operation Sindoor. It's an ominous warning. We'll have to see how the days go ahead now, with security authorities also now unraveling the entire terror module, a transnational one at that. That's all I have for you in this broadcast. Thank you so much for watching. News updates continue on CNN News 18.
Last owner of this used vehicle is from the Shambura village in Pulwama, and guess where the Pulwama connection takes us?
These people are executioners, facilitators, planners, etc. But the mastermind is Maulvi Irfan, who has instigated them.
it's a joint link between Jaish and ISIS are coming and clubbing together for something like what happened in Delhi yesterday.
Targeting women who are professionals, who are highly educated, has been a modus operandi that terror groups have been following some time now.
How suspected to us
Co-powered. This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
On the cleric whose link has now emerged to all of these doctors and those moving from Jammu and Kashmir to Al Falah University. This is a big CNN News 18 exclusive. We are doing this man who's becoming an important figure behind this attack, Maulvi Irfan, who seems to have played a crucial role in radicalizing these medical doctors and students. He was a paramedic in exactly this college that we were talking about, in the government medical college in Srinagar, and was in touch with all students where they all studied. Later he was an imam in Nagaon Mosque. Remember, Nagaon is also the area where those posters emerged first. So it's all really a web of link between all of these individuals and these places. For more on this, let me go across to my colleague Anand, who continues to be with us. Anand.
Well, this was the question, isn't it? Who was the person and how did these educated individuals get radicalized? That question is being answered by this fact that it is Maulvi Irfan who's the link towards radicalizing all these individuals. And how? Who named Maulvi Irfan? Arif Nisar Dar, Yasirul Ashraf and Maqsood Ahmad Dar. All three of them residents of Nogam, the OGWs who are putting these posters of the Jaish. Now, why is it, how is it that they knew Maulvi Irfan? Because he is the Maulvi of the Nogam Mosque. But where was he before he became a Maulvi of this Nogam Mosque? Irfan was a paramedic teacher. He was teaching them at the paramedic college of GMC. He was a paramedical at GMC Srinagar, Government Medical College Srinagar, where he came into contact with these people, Adil, Muzammil, Shaheen and Umar, because they were all students under him. So before he moved to the Nogam Mosque as a Maulvi, he was there, and that's when he came into contact with these students, with whom he continued to stay in touch via platforms like Telegram and Threema, encrypted platforms, and he was the Jaish recruiter and radicalizer. He was the one who the Jaish had recruited to try and seed these, sow these seeds of radicalization among educated minds and slowly convert them. What was he doing? Manoj Gupta getting us these details. He was in touch via VoIP or Voice over Internet Protocol. Again, encrypted platform, difficult to detect, with entities who are based in Afghanistan in Nangarhar. Nangarhar is the alternative base outside of Pakistan, training facility of the Jaish. And that's where his handlers were, and he was feeding them, again, vitriolic info, radicalizing videos, and also wartime Afghan videos which urge these men and these people to fight. Maulvi Irfan is the brains behind and the mastermind. Muzammil and Adil were the executors, whereas Shahina was the facilitator. She was the one who was supposed to collect funds. She was the benign, soft face who would perhaps get people to support them for their cause and collect funds. About 35 to 40 lakhs they had collected. But Irfan was the one who was supposed to have radicalized all these individuals, and they all received ideological guidance.
For a brief minute, because we have the first pictures of those two doctors who have been arrested with 2,900 kilograms of explosives, timers and other material. The plot that they were making could have completely destabilized India and its major cities. This is Dr. Adil and Dr. Muzammil, who have been caught under the Al Falah model. They both worked as doctors at the Al Falah University. They all have links to this Maulvi that Anand was also describing, and possible links to Dr. Umar, who was the suspected man who was driving the car that was involved in the blast last evening, and Dr. Shaheen, that female doctor who has also been arrested. We have more on that female doctor also that is coming in. In fact, we can play that now because Dr. Shaheen's first images have also been accessed. This is the Lucknow-based doctor who was arrested for the alleged involvement in this terror module, which is now spanning 3 states at least: Jammu and Kashmir, Haryana and UP. Saharanpur, Faridabad, Pulwama, Nagaum, and Anantnag, Srinagar, all of these cities that are being mapped as far as this entire plot is concerned. One blast has been executed, but what we know from the agencies, of course, or from the findings and the discoveries, is that plan was much larger. Much larger, possibly multiple attacks and multiple blasts were being planned. They're all doctors by profession. This is what has shocked many. It's not entirely surprising. Not the first time a doctor or an engineer has been found to be involved in a terror plot or terror attack, but it has still shocked many because this shows that radicalization has nothing to do with your background, with your opportunities, with your financial status or your educational status. Yes, and I'm coming back to you. First images accessed by CNN News 18 of those 3 doctors who are at the heart of those massive discoveries made by the police and others.
But they have been radicalized since the time they were students to complete your MBBS and to become doctors.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks a lot for staying with CNN News 18. I'm Shivani Gupta. I'm joining you from the site of the Delhi blast that took place evening yesterday. This is the first such blast that has been carried out in the national capital, and right in the heart of the national capital for the first time since 2011, and certainly this has brought back some ugly memories. But remember, there is a context within which we are talking about this Delhi blast, and that's the fact that there is a massive recovery of explosive material, cache of other ammunition, etc. that has been done just in the last few days. In fact, that news was breaking all over Indian media just yesterday before the blast took place in the evening. So what does that tell us? That and more is coming up with our set of reporters and guests over the next 1 hour. But first up, let's take a quick check of the headlines we're tracking. Prime Minister makes statement of intent from Bhutan, says agencies will go to the root of the conspiracy, vows to not spare the perpetrators. Home Minister Amit Shah chairs round 2 of a high-level security review meeting at his residence. NIA takes over the investigation into the Delhi blast. From suspected suicide bomber to financer of attacker, your terror doctors under radar of probe agencies. Staff of Al Falah University quizzed. More proof emerges of the Faridabad link. CNN News 18 accesses CCTV footage of the i20 car from October 29 in Faridabad. Blast car seen undergoing pollution check. From Rauf Asgar's threat warning, attacks in India to anti-India posters in Kashmir. Jaish linked to Delhi terror blast under investigation. .4% voter turnout recorded till 3 p.m. in phase 2 of Bihar elections today. Final phase set to conclude shortly. And stand by for the biggest exit poll coverage, the most accurate numbers and fastest analysis only on CNN News 18.
आज करीब 6:52 पे एक स्लो मूविंग व्हीकल जो रेड लाइट की तरफ आके रुका था, उसमें एक ये एक्सप्लोजन हुआ है।
बहुत बड़ा ब्लास्ट हुआ, वहाँ तक सीने पे धड़कन की आवाज़ गई।
So Delhi has become witness to yet another terror blast. It has claimed as many as 8 lives, but there could be more casualties as this progresses. But the focus now is on the investigation. Here on the site of the blast, right in front of Red Fort, you can see behind me, not only is there a lot of media around here, but that white tent that has been put up. Now that white tent has been put up to cordon off the area which is the actual site of the blast. Yesterday evening we brought to you visuals of how blown away pieces, mangled pieces of the car in which the blast took place, and also the adjacent cars had blown away to as far as half a kilometer. In fact, right now we are standing roughly 200 meters away from that spot. This is right next to the Digambar temple on my right, and actually parts of human body that were blown away, bits of pieces were found as far back as where I am standing right now. This is the main thing about this blast. Exactly what was the nature of the blast is still to be ascertained officially, but Delhi police investigative agencies are all hard at work. NIA has now officially taken over this investigation. Was this connected to the Faridabad Al Fateh University model, where as many as 4 doctors have been caught as part of a conspiracy to carry out possibly serial blasts, not just in the national capital but across the country? As much as 3 tons of explosive material was seized from them. These include Dr. Adil, Dr. Muzammil, and even Dr. Shaheen, a female doctor. So is there a link that has now been established? For more on this, I want to quickly go across to my colleague Anvit, who is with me here at the spot. He's been at the spot since morning. Anvit, can we say safely that there is a connection with the Faridabad model?
See, at least the police are probing that right now, and because it just happened hours after 3 tons of explosive were recovered, and it is also being said by the investigators that one of the persons who had escaped the arrest from the module, he could have probably, Umar Nabi, who was actually suspected to have been driving the vehicle and whose mother's sample have also been taken to confirm that he is the person who was driving the vehicle. He had stopped actually on that red light when the explosion took off, and the intensity of explosion was such, Vani, that we are standing ahead of the barricade. And a short while ago, when NIA had taken over the case, NIA teams crossed the barricades to check the entire vicinity, the radius of at least 500 meters, and collected samples even from where we are standing. There were pieces of human body remains, there were pieces of metals and tangled bodies of metals of vehicles that were damaged. At least 7 to 8 vehicles were completely damaged. So that was the intensity. So it is being said that possibly because of the 3 tons of explosives like material and ammonium nitrate that had been recovered, it could be a part of that. It is also being suspected as a Fedayeen attack because that person was there, but it is not known because he died whether his intent was to explode at Red Fort or whether he was taking a vehicle to another sensitive location where he could have exploded it. So those things remain under investigation, but currently because the large amount of explosive was recovered, so it is suspected that the explosive that has gone off could be a part of what already has been recovered.
But it was nitrate, ammonium nitrate.
Ammonium nitrate traces have been recovered abundantly from this area. It is also suspected there could be a larger amount of explosive, possibly RDS. However, there is no official word on it yet.
Okay. Anvit, I'm going to come back to you. I'm also joined by our reporters from across the country. Srinagar, Ishan is joining us from Srinagar. I have Ananya and also my colleague Anshul in Faridabad. But before that, let's go across to the latest reaction that is coming in from the Home Minister right now. Remember, the Home Minister has finished his second round of meetings a short while ago, and he has put out a tweet warning perpetrators. It reads, and I quote, chaired review meetings on the Delhi car blast with senior officials, instructed them to hunt down each and every culprit behind this incident. Everyone involved in this act will face the full wrath of our agencies. So that's the message that is coming in as far as the Home Minister is concerned. Remember, the Prime Minister will also take stock of the situation right after he arrives back in India. He's on an official trip to Bhutan. But the Prime Minister has also issued a warning earlier in the day, meant not just for domestic audiences here in India but also for global audiences. That one line in English that he said, that the perpetrators will not be spared. So that continues to be our top focus. Exactly what is the line of investigation the agencies will be taking, but also importantly whether the officials will tell us officially that there is a connection with the Al-Falah University model that everyone has been talking about. Could it be a mere coincidence, or could it be a panic attack that has been triggered by Dr. Umar Nabi that my colleague Anvit was also talking about as far as this attack is concerned? In fact, Anvit continues to be with me. I also have, as I said, Ishan, my colleague Ananya and Anshul. But very quickly before I go to others, Anvit, was this a planned attack because of the fact that others were caught, if Dr. Umar Nabi was indeed part of the module, or do you think this was an not an attack that was meant to be carried out? It was being transported, the material was being transported somewhere else, but it invariably went off.
See, that still remains to be investigated, but because the kind of module that has been busted and the amount of explosives that have been recovered, it certainly speaks volume of something sinister was under planning. So much of explosive and ammonium nitrate within the vicinity of Delhi NCR, and then having connections to Kashmir, and then at least 8 to 9 people have been arrested from there, arrests have been made from Saharanpur and Lucknow as well, and all these people connect to Al-Falah University, from where these doctors were training, and from where explosive also been recovered, and an assault rifle was also recovered. So this certainly speaks volumes and indicates that something sinister was under planning. And it is also being said by the investigators that the man Umar Nabi had stayed inside the car, he did not step out. So this is a possibility that this could be a Fidain attack.
He was a suicide bomber.
It could be, very well, because he has died, so it is not known whether he was transporting it to some other place,
or
because the explosion has taken place on the red light.
Yeah.
So this is unlikely that someone would park the vehicle on a red light and explode it. However, he could have seen that there is enough people around and he could cause enough damage. So that could possibly be.
This could be a panic triggering of an attack, given that the rest of the culprits were being booked and arrested by the police. In fact, speaking of those other accused, I want to go across to my colleague Anshul first up, because he's been tracking the developments in Faridabad. Anshul, just give me an idea of what are the arrests that have been linked to Al-Falah University. There's Dr. Adil, Dr. Muzammil and Dr. Shaheen. Apart from that, who else is the lens pointing to?
Well, at least 6 other people of the university where the lens is pointing to at this point in time. 6 people from the university have been picked up for the purposes of questioning. None of them has been arrested at this point. But what sources have told us, and we can confirm it as well, that there is an HR who goes by the name Jameel inside the university, and this HR was specifically bringing in people from Kashmir. In fact, he was the common link between all these 3 people who have been arrested from the Al-Falah University. All these 3 doctors were staying inside the university itself, and the explosive materials that have been recovered have all been recovered within a 5 kilometers radius of this university itself. So somewhere or the other, this university has played a very, very pivotal role. 6 people have now been taken into custody for the purposes of interrogation. These people were working very closely with Muzammil specifically, and that is the reason why they have now been taken into custody. But the larger question, or the larger search that still remains, is of Dr. Umar. Even though it is being suspected, it is being believed as well that Umar was the person who was driving that vehicle. The facial recognitions and other things are being done at this point in time. But until and unless the DNA samples come back after being matched, then it would be abundantly clear if at all it was Umar who was driving that vehicle. And if that is true, then this entire nexus of Faridabad, this entire module of Faridabad will have direct connections with the blast in the national capital. At this point in time, those investigations are still going forward. A lot of samples needs to be tested. A lot of results needs to come back, and that will take some time naturally. So it remains to be seen once the agencies come on record. And
so Anshul, we are getting some more updates that you are sending us as far as the suspected suicide bomber is concerned. This man, Dr. Umar Nabi, his role is being investigated, but we are learning that he stayed inside the vehicle throughout. He entered the parking very close to this area where we are standing at Suneri Mosque area at 3:19 p.m. yesterday, and patiently waited till 6:48. So the information that we're getting, that Anshul is bringing us, is that he did not step out of the car. That does seem suspicious. He did not leave the car even once, and the Delhi police has found this out by going through the CCTV of this parking area. So Anshul, certainly the activities of Umar, the suspected bomber, seems to be very suspicious.
Well, definitely, and that is probably one of the reasons why an area like Red Fort was selected. He stayed inside the vehicle for 3 hours. Definitely, it was not like that he was transporting the material, and it is not seeming like that he was transporting that material and suddenly this blast went off. He very consciously stayed inside the vehicle for more than 3 hours, and then eventually when he saw that the sun has set, people are on the streets, the peak hours of the national capital have started, the entire area of in front of the Red Fort will be flocked by people. It is at that point that he goes towards the next red light, slows down his vehicle, and then eventually this blast happens. Remember, very interestingly, a CNG vehicle was bought for this specific purpose as well, that if an attack needs to be done, then it should be done in a CNG vehicle, because this is a new kind of explosive device that was made. Generally, an explosive device that has been seen by agencies, there are sharpeners, there are wires that are present into it. If at all RDS is being used, and there is a carter that forms around the site of the explosion. But in this case, nothing of that sort has happened. The explosion happened. The explosion was amplified by the CNG tank and by the petrol that was all full. So because of this, we saw those fire erupting in these vehicles. And remember, this blast also happened from the rear end of the vehicle, where the petrol tank and the CNG tank are present. So this was very deliberately placed at such a location, where even a small fire or even a small blast that could happen, that could have a larger impact or have a larger intensity and cover a larger surface area, and that is what has been done. So this is prima facie seeming like a well thought out attack that has been done. Definitely, it could have been done after the arrests that were made by the Jammu Kashmir police and by the Faridabad police, specifically the recoveries that were made.
Anshul, I'm going to keep coming back to you. Lieutenant General S. Harimohan Iyer, former Chief of Staff, Northern Command, Indian Army, is also with us. Sir, I'm going to come to you in just a couple of minutes. I want to go across to my colleague Arunima, who's also joining us. And Arunima, you've been tracking the meetings that the Home Minister has been holding. He has just made a statement, basically a message of intent, and the message that has been passed on to the agencies about not leaving any one of the perpetrators or the conspirators in this. But where are the leads taking the NIA that has now taken over this investigation? All right, I'm going to go across to Arunima in just a bit. I want to bring in Lieutenant General S. Harimohan Iyer first up. First such blast that has taken place outside of Jammu and Kashmir in a long time, and first such blast in the heart of national capital since 2011. Given what has transpired between India and Pakistan earlier this year, what should be India's appropriate response? I'm asking you this question because there are clear links to Jammu and Kashmir and clear links to Jaish that are now emerging as far as this blast is concerned.
Good evening, and thank you for having me on your show. As regards the connection to Pakistan and Jammu and Kashmir, it is very evident that the elements who are involved with this particular blast are connected with the Jaish. Now the issue is what is going to be our response? Op Sindoor is still on. We have just paused it. So if you want to look at a military response, the response is already on. It's a question of when the pause button is lifted and suitable operations will start. But that not possibly be the first step which the government will take. It will firstly close all the loops behind this, and the way you are investigating, your investigation has gone about speaks to a lot of logic, and by and large it will be an attempt to catch hold of as many of the domestic people who are involved with this particular incident, try and create a much stronger case. If you see what the response with Pakistan is today, somewhere in the evening they have shown a similar kind of an incident in Islamabad. So it indicates the worry on the other side that this will be construed as a terror attack, and it will be taken back towards Pakistan. So that kind of indication is very much there, and I'm sure the investigation agencies will take its time. You see, unlike the month of May when the earlier incident happened, we had to put together our armed forces to take a particular option. In the current scheme of things, because the operation is still ongoing, that kind of a delay may not happen. So we have a little bit of more time and a suitable reaction will come from the government. And if you can read what the Prime Minister has said in his speech yesterday, and the way the Home Minister has also tweeted recently, it indicates that the government is very much determined to take the people with the perpetrators to task. So therefore, I'm sure they will first take hold of the people who are inside the country and close all the loops before taking a decision in an international level. Thank you.
Yes, and whenever that international response comes, what should be the objective this time with which the Indian Armed Forces will go for a recontinuation or a continuation of Operation Sindoor or Operation Sindoor 2.0? That's the big question in everyone's mind. General, I'm going to come back to you on that question. What could be the objectives this time, given what the objectives were last time when India did pause the operation after it said that its objectives were met? There was some criticism of that, and we knew that Pakistan wasn't going to mend its ways. But what next? But before that, on the issue of this being the handiwork of domestic terrorists or domestic radicalized men and women. Now that question cannot be escaped. Like it or not, this is a problem that India is confronting, and this is a problem that is not going away. Nobody can brush this under the carpet anymore, given that this time around we have a whole slew of professionals, doctors linked to Jammu and Kashmir and radicalized individuals who are coming to light. On that note, I want to go across to Ishan, my colleague who's joining us from Srinagar. Ishan, I want to understand from you, what has been the reaction within Srinagar and Kashmir after these links have emerged? I mean, for such an activity to come to light, professionals to come to light, and such huge recoveries being made, plans being made to possibly conduct several serial blasts, not just in Jammu and Kashmir but outside of Jammu and Kashmir. How is the community in Jammu and Kashmir reacting to this?
Well, shocking, because people were just coming out of the horrific Pahalgam incident, and something where again links have been found towards Kashmir is something which people were absolutely shocked about. Even in the close group of friends, one would see that people were shocked to see that there is a Kashmir hand in all of this, because a lot of innocent lives were lost, and immediately people were in a kind of panic to understand what really who they are, and because the car owner was immediately traced to Kashmir, and that's when alarm bells started ringing. But it's also important to highlight that how Jammu and Kashmir police actually helped in ensuring that they are able to deal with the situation effectively. First, decoding the CCTV footage, trying to interrogate people who were behind posting of that poster, and then trying to get hands on those who were operating this module. Remember, it's not just about yesterday's explosion. It's the police's big role in trying to establish that who all were connected to it. It was just one person out of their group who was out and who they were looking for. Even during the day, we said that Umar is absconding, but possibly not a lead or so big clue that he will undertake such a big action. All the doctors were arrested, they were detained, they were questioned, interrogated, and then one after another arrests and detentions were made. And slowly it happened that police was able to actually come out with the entire explanation of the story. Though just one piece and puzzle possibly remained, which was Umar, who possibly they were trying to hunt down, because there were J&K police teams outside Jammu and Kashmir who were looking for Umar ferociously, but they couldn't look for him because he had shut down his phone, he had stopped contacting his family. His family said that from the last 3 days he had asked them not to disturb him as he is busy with his exams of students, and he has some studies to do in the library, so he wouldn't be able to take a lot of calls. Then they found his phone number to be switched off, but police had gone to Pulwama, police had gone to every corner to look for him even outside, but he stayed untraceable, but they never possibly knew that he is going to undertake such a big action. Shocking for the society, but yes, something where people will try to introspect, because it's the cream of the society. Any doctor getting radicalized is shocking indeed.
Yes, it's not just about the issue of radicalization on ground, but it's also about how, Kashmiris who are experiencing some fruits of development and mainstreaming are going to be looked at when something like this comes to light, because we do want there should be more mainstreaming and faith and responsibility that has to be shown. But we have had these issues, and now for this to come out, this entire module to come out and to be linked to the Delhi blast, first of its kind in 14 years, it's of course raised everybody's eyebrows. But let's not forget in all of this, the victims. There have been as many as 8 to 9 confirmed casualties. I want to go across to my colleague Ananya, who's actually been keeping track of those who have been killed or injured in this attack. Most of them were taken to the LNJP hospital nearby. Ananya, give me a sense of what you witnessed. What are the latest numbers? How are the injured doing as of now?
Well, absolutely. There were almost 20 plus people who have been injured in this particular incident, and 9 people per se have died. One body has not been able to identify because it was completely in parts, which is said to be of Umar, while the other 8 have been, identified. In fact, one of the bodies of a particular person called Guman was actually in such a tragic, stance that it was not having its head and legs, and the family was asked to identify, and it was a very, very tragic scene that unfolded outside, in fact, at the mortuary of, the Maulana Azad Medical College, where these bodies were actually kept. Most of these bodies have been identified. The family has been given out these bodies after carrying out the clear postmortems, and only one body whose only minimal parts have been recovered is something that needs to be identified, and it is said to be of Umar. However, that could only be clear after the DNA sampling and the results of the DNA sampling that comes out. But also, Shivani, apart from the victims, the charges that have been leveled by, in fact, in the FIR, which is with regards to how Section 16 and 18 of the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, which leads to a death penalty, is in fact a very, very stringent act. In fact, under UAPA, 30 days of police custody remand can be sought in one straight go, and that could actually help the investigators to actually unearth this larger conspiracy or this sinister plan that was being hashed, and a small pinch of it, which we saw in the national capital, which led to almost 8 people dead and many injured. Shivani.
Yes, absolutely. And it is those lives that have to be avenged. Ordinary Indians who were just out there earning their daily livelihoods, some of them the sole breadwinners for their families, they have perished in this attack. And this is why India's resolve will be to, of course, not only catch each and every one of the domestic conspirator and perpetrator, but also send down a very strong message internationally. I want to go across to our guest on that international message in just a bit. But before that, here's a reminder of the message that came from the Prime Minister and the Defence Minister earlier today.
इस घटना की जांच में जुटी सभी एजेंसियों के साथ, सभी महत्वपूर्ण लोगों के साथ संपर्क में था, विचार विमर्श चलता था, जानकारियों के तार जोड़े जा रहे थे। हमारी एजेंसियां इस षड्यंत्र की तह तक जाएगी। इसके पीछे के षड्यंत्रकारियों को बख्शा नहीं जाएगा। All those responsible will be brought to justice.
All right, General Iyer, I'm coming back to you. You were talking about the fact that first, of course, we need to take care of the domestic perpetrators and conspirators, and then we will look at the international message. But this time around, if Operation Sindoor was to restart, was to be kick-started again, what could be the objectives this time? We know the enemy. We know that the enemy has only one agenda for their existence, which is anti-India and anti-Hindu agenda. How do you deal with that, and what objectives do you set for the next stage of this operation?
Shivani, this is a little tricky kind of a scenario for people to speculate. After the Uri incident, we launched surgical strikes. After the Pulwama incidents, they launched airstrikes just across the line of control, just into mainland Pakistan, hitting their terror camps. Last time around, we targeted their headquarters. What would be the Indian options and response? It's very difficult to speculate, but let me tell you, the kind of escalation that is, expected out of it has already been calibrated. The the plans would have been already put in place, and people who have to execute it are also aware of what they have to do. To that extent, I don't think there will be a very long loop to decide what would be the action. The government, I'm sure, is going to take its time. It's not going to be in a hurry. The very fact that the Prime Minister, re-emphasized the aspect in English, which he did the last time also in Patna when he did that rally after the incident which took place in Pahalgam. And moment he brings this out, he is telling the international audience that India is now ready to respond to ensure that everybody who was responsible for this incident is brought to book. 2 or 3 things needs to be highlighted. Firstly, this is not just mainland India, it is in the capital of India. So the thing goes up, the meter goes up, the degree of escalation goes up. And if you calculate the kind of explosives that have been taken out a day before and link it to this particular incident, if those 2 incidents happen to be part of the same conspiracy, once the investigations are closed, that will actually give us much more reason to up the ante when we take a suitable response. I'm sure this time around we will be very clear in the manner in which the international organizations will be brought into around, so that we don't get into a situation when we are going and justifying our actions later. Suitable action will be taken, and I'm sure it will be a level.
So I'll just interrupt you here briefly, General Iyer. Just stay with me. I do have to slip into a very short break, but we are keeping a very close watch on the developments that are taking place, particularly an eye on the investigations. We'll get you more with our reporters. Our guests and experts will also stay with us. We'll be back with you after a very short break.
Last owner of this used vehicle is from the Shambura village in Pulwama, and guess where the Pulwama connection takes us?
These people are executioners, facilitators, planners, etc. But the mastermind is Maulvi Irfan, who has instigated them.
It's a joint link between Jaish and ISIS are coming and clubbing together for something like what happened in Delhi yesterday.
Targeting women who are professionals, who are highly educated, has been a modus operandi that terror groups have been following some time now.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
On the cleric whose link has now emerged to all of these doctors and those moving from Jammu and Kashmir to Al-Falah University. This is a big CNN News 18 exclusive. We are decoding this man who is becoming an important figure behind this attack, Maulvi Irfan, who seems to have played a crucial role in radicalizing these medical doctors and students. He was a paramedic in exactly this college that we were talking about, in the government medical college in Srinagar, and was in touch with all students where they all studied. Later he was an imam in Nagaon Mosque. Remember, Nagaon is also the area where those posters emerged first. So it's all really a web of link between all of these individuals and these places. For more on this, let me go across to my colleague Anand, who continues to be with us. Anand.
Well, this was the question, isn't it? Who was the person and how did these educated individuals get radicalized? That question is being answered by this fact that it is Maulvi Irfan who's the link towards radicalizing all these individuals. And how? Who named Maulvi Irfan? Arif Nisar Dar, Yasirul Ashraf and Maqsood Ahmad Dar. All 3 of them residents of Nogam, the OGWs who are putting these posters of the Jaish. Now, why is it, how is it that they knew Maulvi Irfan? Because he is the Maulvi of the Nogam Mosque. But where was he before he became a Maulvi of this Nogam Mosque? Irfan was a paramedic teacher. He was teaching them at the paramedic college of GMC. He was a paramedical at GMC Srinagar, Government Medical College Srinagar, where he came into contact with these people, Adil, Muzammil, Shaheen and Umar, because they were all students under him. So before he moved to the Nogam Mosque as a Maulvi, he was there, and that's when he came into contact with these students, with whom he continued to stay in touch via platforms like Telegram and Threema, encrypted platforms, and he was the Jaish recruiter and radicalizer. He was the one who the Jaish had recruited to try and sow these seeds of radicalization among educated minds and slowly convert them. What was he doing? Manoj Gupta getting us these details. He was in touch via VoIP or voice over internet protocol. Again, encrypted platform, difficult to detect, with entities who are based in Afghanistan in Nangarhar. Nangarhar is the alternative base outside of Pakistan, training facility of the Jaish. And that's where his handlers were, and he was feeding them, again, vitriolic info, radicalizing videos, and also wartime Afghan videos which urge these men and these people to fight. Maulvi Irfan is the brains behind and the mastermind. Muzammil and Adil were the executors, whereas Shahina was the facilitator. She was the one who was supposed to collect funds. She was the benign, soft face who would perhaps get people to support them for their cause and collect funds. About 35 to 40 lakhs they had collected. But Irfan was the one who was supposed to have radicalized all these individuals, and they all received ideological
you for
guidance.
a brief minute, because we have the first pictures of those two doctors who have been arrested with 2,900 kilograms of explosives, timers and other material. The plot that they were making could have completely destabilized India and its major cities. This is Dr. Adil and Dr. Muzammil, who have been caught under the Al-Falah model. They both worked as doctors at the Al-Falah University. They all have links to this Maulvi that Anand was also describing, and possible links to Dr. Umar, who was the suspected man who was driving the car that was involved in the blast last evening, and Dr. Shaheen, that female doctor who has also been arrested. We have more on that female doctor also that is coming in. In fact, we can play that now, because Dr. Shaheen's first images have also been accessed. This is the Lucknow-based doctor who was arrested for the alleged involvement in this terror module, which is now spanning 3 states at least: Jammu and Kashmir, Haryana and UP. Saharanpur, Faridabad, Pulwama, Nagaum and Anantnag, Srinagar, all of these cities that are being mapped as far as this entire plot is concerned. One blast has been executed, but what we know from the agencies, of course, or from the findings and the discoveries, is that plan was much larger. Much larger, possibly multiple attacks and multiple blasts were being planned. They're all doctors by profession. This is what has shocked many. It's not entirely surprising. Not the first time a doctor or an engineer has been found to be involved in a terror plot or terror attack, but it has still shocked many, because this shows that radicalization has nothing to do with your background, with your opportunities, with your financial status or your educational status. Yes, and I'm coming back to you. First images accessed by CNN News 18 of those 3 doctors who are at the heart of those massive discoveries made by the police and others.
But they have been radicalized since the time they were students. To complete your MBBS and to become doctors, it takes 4 to 5 years, and then for the last 3-4 years they've been also in practice. But all through, they have been in touch with Maulvi Irfan. And Irfan was a teacher, he was a paramedical at GMC, and where all of them were students. There is Umar Nabi, or Dr. Umar Nabi, who's the 4th in this, who's also involved, and they were all at the same place. And then Irfan, from being a paramedical, becomes a Maulvi and moves to the Nogam Mosque, from where the OGWs are pasting posters. So he is actually, over the years, busy sowing seeds of radicalization.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
On the cleric whose link has now emerged to all of these doctors and those moving from Jammu and Kashmir to Al-Falah University. This is a big CNN News 18 exclusive. We are decoding this man who's becoming an important figure behind this attack, Maulvi Irfan, who seems to have played a crucial role in radicalizing these medical doctors and students. He was a paramedic in exactly this college that we were talking about, in the government medical college in Srinagar, and was in touch with all students where they all studied. Later, he was an imam in Nagaon Mosque. Remember, Nagaon is also the area where those posters emerged first. So it's all really a web of link between all of these individuals and these places. For more on this, let me go across to my colleague Anand, who continues to be with us. Anand.
Well, this was the question, isn't it? Who was the person and how did these educated individuals get radicalized? That question is being answered by this fact that it is Maulvi Irfan who's the link towards radicalizing all these individuals. And how? Who named Maulvi Irfan? Arif Nisar Dar, Yasirul Ashraf and Maqsood Ahmad Dar. All three of them residents of Nogam, the OGWs who are putting these posters of the Jaish. Now, why is it, how is it that they knew Maulvi Irfan? Because he is the Maulvi of the Nogam Mosque. But where was he before he became a Maulvi of this Nogam Mosque? Irfan was a paramedic teacher. He was teaching them at the paramedic college of GMC. He was a paramedical at GMC Srinagar, Government Medical College Srinagar.
Welcome back, everyone. We are joining you live from the spot of the Delhi blast, right ahead of Red Fort. The sun is about to set in the national capital, and with that, it's going to be almost 24 hours since this street fell silent. As you can see, there are barricading leading up to that spot, which has now been covered by a white tent. This is exactly where the blast took place. There are police personnel here, security officials here who are maintaining a vigil. Nobody is allowed to get close. On the left of that side is the area which is anyways pedestrianized, and where the Chandni Chowk market is, a very busy market. And then if you pan a little bit more is the Digambar Jain temple right here, which is about 200 meters away from the blast site, where there are pieces of not just mangled car but also bodies that have been found. Now this is the area in the heart of the national capital, the Red Fort, that the terrorists attempted to strike, a symbolic gesture perhaps to show that they have the capacity and the capability to strike in the heart of the national capital, something that has not been possible since 2011 in the national capital. And this is why this is posing a big question mark, not just on what went wrong but also on what could have been, because remember, this is not happening in a vacuum. This is happening at a time when 3 tons of explosive material was also found from another module that was busted earlier this week. Just yesterday that news was breaking, and now we have a situation where we've had this blast. But first up, let's get you more on who could be behind this blast. We've got exclusive breaking updates coming in. So what we're getting to know is that Delhi attack is indeed being looked at as a proper Jaish-inspired Fidain attack. Maulvi Irfan is this Maulvi, this cleric, who was identified after those posters went up in Nagaon in Kashmir. And he is the key radicalizer who influenced a large number of medical students, particularly those hailing from Jammu and Kashmir. CNN News 18 had earlier brought to you the role that Maulvi Irfan played in being in touch with these medical students, who later of course turned out to be doctors became doctors themselves, but also he was in direct touch from the handlers in Afghanistan. I want to go across to my colleague Anshul first up on this. Anshul, the details that we're getting on Maulvi Irfan and on the Jaish inspired module here.
Well, yes, we have been talking about that, how this entire modus operandi that has been utilized is specifically new, and this time around very clearly, finally the intelligence agencies have confirmed this to our investigating editor Manoj Gupta, that yes, this was a new kind of a blast that happened over here. This was a new kind of modus operandi that took place over here, and that eventually became a very big reason for the headache of the security agencies initially. But now, since more and more facts are coming to the fore, it is becoming abundantly clear that the MO that has been utilized in this entire incident is definitely something that is related to Jaish-e-Mohammed. And in fact, it is also very clear that previously how JEM in fact used to go ahead and take and try to influence the creamy layer of the society, that is something that has yet again come back to focus of Jaish-e-Mohammed. So definitely this is a big intelligence input or input that has been received by CNN News 18, and the agencies are now absolutely sure that somewhere or the other there is a direct connection with Jaish-e-Mohammed that has come up in the investigation that has happened till now. Yes, some facts and some reports are still missing, but the dots that have surfaced, these dots are actually clearly pointing towards that this was a larger conspiracy that was being plotted for the last many weeks, and finally the ending came on a day when finally the police got very close to exposing this entire module, and then eventually it seems like that out of hurry and panic this decision was taken that at least one blast should be done, and that is what has been done at Red Fort.
Okay. Yes, and of course the top security minds of the country have been meeting. 2 meetings have been held by the MHA already. I want to go across to my colleague Arunima, who's been tracking more on this. The investigation has been officially transferred to the NIA. Arunima, what is the latest that you're picking up?
Yes, NIA has taken over the probe. It is now confirmed that all the paperwork, the FIR, the investigation diary, the IO's diary, which is so crucial to the probe so far, all of those papers have been officially handed over. Home Minister Amit Shah did a review meeting as well with top officials of the security establishment, and he subsequently put out a tweet or a social media post saying that none of the perpetrators will be spared. So it is a multi-city, multi-agency probe that is going on. Faridabad Police, Jammu and Kashmir Police, Uttar Pradesh Police and Delhi Police, they are all carrying out probes at their level. All of that is now being handed over to NIA, which will continue to dig further to try and understand who else were part of this module, who were the overground workers, and how the funding as well as how the explosive was getting procured.
Yes, absolutely. Arunima, we'll keep coming back to you for more. For now, let's try and show our viewers a little bit more of what's happening here at Red Fort. Remember, as I'm talking to you, it's going to be very soon, about 24 hours completed after the first such blast of its kind in the national capital. This is the exact road that has fallen silent. 9 casualties that have been reported after this blast was carried out, and this is really where the focus is. Investigating agencies are working. All the teams of the NIA, the FSL teams, all of them have been on ground since the blast took place at about 6:55 yesterday, and they are of course working against the clock to ensure that they can make a foolproof case as far as the link to that Faridabad module is concerned. But speaking of the intensity of the blast and of course the casualties that it managed to cause, I have with me my colleague Ananya, who's also been here. You've been here on ground zero, Ananya. You've also been at the LNJP. It's a heart-rending story of innocent people who have been killed, and this is an ugly reminder of what used to happen in India 10-14 years ago.
Well, absolutely. 2011 was the last blast that the national capital actually saw, and since then it is in fact a very ghastly attack that has taken place in the national capital. Almost 9 people have been reported dead. 8 bodies have been identified, and the 9th one, which is into a very small pieces, is something that is said to be of Umar, who was driving the car, but it would only be clear at the DNA sampling. But the other 8 have been identified, and one of the bodies was in a very terrible condition. In fact, it did not have its head and its leg, and the identification, the family told us, was done only because of a blue jacket that the person was actually wearing in the hand, which had a small birthmark, which actually confirmed that this was this person called Juman. And this is exactly the kind of tragic stories we saw at the Loknayak Jayaprakash Hospital. We're talking of the kind of ghastly attack. The investigators have pushed in serious charges of Unlawful Activities Prevention Act. Almost a 30 days of police custody remand in a one go. They can take up 16, 18, a terrorist act which is said under the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act pulled in, along with charges under the Explosives Act as well.
Absolutely. I want to go across to both my colleague Ishan and also our guest General Harimohan Iyer, who continues to be with us. Sir, this whole Jaish model that is coming to light of a Fidaian attack or a suicide bombing kind of attack, the kind that we hadn't seen in India, at least outside of Jammu and Kashmir, for the last 14 years or at least for the last 10 plus years. What do you make of the return of this this declaration by these terror organizations that this is what they want to do in India and right in the heart of the national capital now?
Well, Shivani, you have actually already covered this in passing when you said there was a Maulvi involved in this whole thing. radicalization happens when these people are put through a very, very stringent set of lectures and, motivation. And again, the J&K link continues. All the people who are being attributed to this particular incident actually hail from the Pulwama district of J&K. So this still has the same signatures of any Fidayeen attack that happens in J&K. The biggest problem as I look at it is this has happened in mainland India, not just in mainland India, it happened in Delhi. And the bigger thing which we need to look at is that 3,000 kgs of explosives, which in my mind is a fantastic intelligence exercise. We should compliment the intelligence agencies, especially the police of various states which were put together, and they are able to bust this huge cache, because 3,000 kgs could have created mayhem. If it was for the mainland territories, you could have found similar incidents in other cities. And the third thing which I would like to highlight here is we can consider ourselves fortunate, because the period at which this blast went out, it was a crowded area, it was a crowded crossing in a red light where large number of vehicles were parked. To get away with a very small casualty number speaks. It's fortunate for the nation. That having said, the incident should not be.
Yeah, but that also raises the question whether this was indeed the targeted attack, whether it was the right timing or the decided timing and the decided location, or did it go off without that kind of intent. That is still yet to be answered. But I have a minute left. I want to give this to Ishan, my colleague in Srinagar, because Ishan, even before this Al-Falah model came to light, we had seen that there was a crackdown of sorts going on in Jammu and Kashmir. Just give me an overall sense of what are the activities going on in order to curb this festering domestic angle in Jammu and Kashmir.
Well, you're absolutely right. You have observed it well. Last couple of days, there was a massive crackdown on those residents who had left Kashmir and were operating from POJK and trying to harm India. Their family, their parents were booked. People who had old cases, they were revised, they were checked, their digital gadgets were checked, and it was attempted to ensure that all these people who are possibly responsible for creating ruckus and mayhem in Jammu and Kashmir, they are brought to task. And even police applied to cancel the bails of those people who have given bail in UAPA cases in different districts. Even we were surprised and clueless to what really was happening. But yes, there was some kind of movement from the police where a lot of people were being booked. So that is what was happening even before the attack had taken place.
All right. Ishan, thanks a lot for joining us. A big thanks to our guest, General Iyer, and also all of our colleagues for joining us with these latest updates. We'll keep bringing you more from here at Red Fort as 24 hours complete after that blast in the national capital.
Hello. This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
On the cleric whose link has now emerged to all of these doctors and those moving from Jammu and Kashmir to Al-Falah University. This is a big CNN News 18 exclusive. We are decoding this man who's becoming an important figure behind this attack, Maulvi Irfan, who seems to have played a crucial role in radicalizing these medical doctors and students. He was a paramedic in exactly this college that we were talking about, in the government medical college in Srinagar, and was in touch with all students where they all studied. Later he was an imam in Nagaon Mosque. Remember, Nagaon is also the area where those posters emerged first. So it's all really a web of link between all of these individuals and these places. For more on this, let me go across to my colleague Anand, who continues to be with us. Anand.
Well, this was the question, isn't it? Who was the person and how did these educated individuals get radicalized? That question is being answered by this fact that it is Maulvi Irfan who's the link towards radicalizing all these individuals. And how? Who named Maulvi Irfan? Arif Nisar Dar, Yasirul Ashraf and Maqsood Ahmad Dar. All three of them residents of Nogam, the OGWs who are putting these posters of the Jaish. Now, why is it, how is it that they knew Maulvi Irfan? Because he is the Maulvi of the Nogam Mosque. But where was he before he became a Maulvi of this Nogam Mosque? Irfan was a paramedic teacher. He was teaching them at the paramedic college of GMC. He was a paramedical at GMC Srinagar, Government Medical College Srinagar, where he came into contact with these people, Adil, Muzammil, Shaheen and Umar, because they were all students under him. So before he moved to the Nogam Mosque as a Maulvi, he was there, and that's when he came into contact with these students, with whom he continued to stay in touch via platforms like Telegram and Threema, encrypted platforms, and he was the Jaish recruiter and radicalizer. He was the one who the Jaish had recruited to try and seed these, sow these seeds of radicalization among educated minds and slowly convert them. What was he doing? Manoj Gupta getting us these details. He was in touch via VoIP or voice over internet protocol. Again, encrypted platform, difficult to detect, with entities who are based in Afghanistan in Nangarhar. Nangarhar is the alternative base outside of Pakistan, training facility of the Jaish. And that's where his handlers were, and he was feeding them, again, vitriolic info, radicalizing videos, and also wartime Afghan videos which urge these men and these people to fight. Maulvi Irfan is the brains behind and the mastermind. Muzammil and Adil were the executors, whereas Shahina was the facilitator. She was the one who was supposed to collect funds. She was the benign, soft face who would perhaps get people to support them for their cause and collect funds. About 35 to 40 lakhs they had collected. But Irfan was the one who was supposed to have radicalized all these individuals, and they all received ideological guidance.
For a brief minute, because we have the first pictures of those two doctors who have been arrested with 2,900 kilograms of explosives, timers and other material. The plot that they were making could have completely destabilized India and its major cities. This is Dr. Adil and Dr. Muzammil, who have been caught under the Al-Falah model. They both worked as doctors at the Al-Falah University. They all have links to this Maulvi that Anand was also describing, and possible links to Dr. Umar, who was the suspected man who was driving the car that was involved in the blast last evening, and Dr. Shaheen, that female doctor who has also been arrested. We have more on that female doctor also that is coming in. In fact, we can play that now because Dr. Shaheen's first images have also been accessed. This is the Lucknow-based doctor who was arrested for the alleged involvement in this terror module, which is now spanning 3 states at least: Jammu and Kashmir, Haryana and UP, Saharanpur, Faridabad, Pulwama, Nogam, and Anantnag, Srinagar. All of these cities that are being mapped as far as this entire plot is concerned. One blast has been executed, but what we know from the agencies, of course, or from the findings and the discoveries, is that plan was much larger. Much larger, possibly multiple attacks and multiple blasts were being planned. They're all doctors by profession. This is what has shocked many. It's not entirely surprising. Not the first time a doctor or an engineer has been found to be involved in a terror plot or terror attack, but it has still shocked many because this shows that radicalization has nothing to do with your background, with your opportunities, with your financial status or your educational status. Yes, and I'm coming back to you. First images accessed by CNN News 18 of those 3 doctors who are at the heart of those massive discoveries made by the police and others.
But they have been radicalized since the time they were students. To complete your MBBS and to become doctors, it takes 4 to 5 years, and then for the last 3-4 years they've been also in practice. But all through, they have been in touch with Maulvi Irfan. And Irfan was a teacher, he was a paramedical at GMC, and where all of them were students. There is Umar Nabi, or Dr. Umar Nabi, who's the 4th in this, who's also involved, and they were all at the same place. And then Irfan, from being a paramedical, becomes a Maulvi and moves to the Nogam Mosque, from where the OGWs are pasting posters. So he is actually, over the years, busy sowing seeds of radicalization.
This is News 18 Network. India's largest news network.
on the cleric whose link has now emerged to all of these doctors and those moving from Jammu and Kashmir to Al-Falah University. This is a big CNN News 18 exclusive. We are decoding this man who's becoming an important figure behind this attack, Maulvi Irfan, who seems to have played a crucial role in radicalizing these medical doctors and students. He was a paramedic in exactly this college that we were talking about, in the Government Medical College in Srinagar, and was in touch with all students where they all studied. Later, he was an imam in Nagaon Mosque. Remember, Nagaon is also the area where those posters emerged first. So it's all...
Namaste, Jai Hind and welcome. And as we begin the countdown for the Bihar exit polls and the numbers here at the News 18 mega exit poll, viewers, there has been a deadly terror strike in the national capital, and the 10-11 blast coverage will also be a part of this evening's special broadcast. Bihar, meanwhile, has fiercely fought the 2025 assembly election, and it's reached the most crucial juncture with the second and final phase of voting concluding in a short while from now. The state's long and heated campaign has formally given way to anticipation. Voters across 122 constituencies spread over 20 districts have cast their ballot through the day in the second phase of polling, rounding off a high-stakes contest that's seen intense rallies, sharp political messaging and heavy turnout in several regions. Shortly from now, we will get you the most accurate and most extensive poll numbers on Bihar Assembly elections too. But first up, a quick check on the voter turnout, where phase 1, if that was a record at 65%, phase 2 is a record in itself, because till 5 p.m. it's already touched 67.14% turnout, and that will be only revised upwards by the time polls close around 6 p.m. till the last person in the line is allowed to cast their ballot, and those numbers could touch nearly 70%. Now 70% in this entire Simanchal region, largely these two U's, the 2C of the phase, the shape, the borderline areas, and there to have such high turnouts, what is the implication of this? Is this a one-way swing for the incumbent, or is there an anti-wave? There are those who have gone down to Bihar, there are others who have spoken to analysts and spoken to Biharis, spread all across. The migrant voter base, all of these aspects come into play. Zaka Jacob with us, Rahul Shivshankar with us, Nistula Hebar, Rashid Kidwai and Rahul Verma with us here in the studio, along with our reporters also. So we'll go across to them. Before we bring it inside here, just quickly going across to Arun Dhanta on ground. Oh, we'll go to him in a bit. Zaka Jacob, the numbers, how are they? Second phase, is this looking record?
I know we make a lot out of voter turnout data on the day the polls close, on the day of the exit polls, and then on counting day everybody forgets about it. But for whatever it's worth, it is a record turnout in Bihar. So this is the historical data that we have. So 2025, the first phase was 65%. Today we have 67% till 5 p.m. And I think, Anand, you're right, it could go up to 70%, maybe even upwards of 70%. So what we're effectively looking at is, somewhere in the high 60s, maybe 68 or 69% voter turnout eventually in the state of Bihar, which means if we end up with 68, 69, closer to 70% voter turnout in Bihar, that would be the highest that we've seen certainly in the last 25 years. The lowest was 46.5%, less than half in the year 2005. That, by the way, was the first election that Nitish Kumar won and became Chief Minister. It has been on an upward spiral ever since, 52, 56, 57. But this one would be a record. This would be a record. It would be higher than even, the ones that we saw when Lalu Prasad Yadav was in power in the 1990s. Of course, the familiar adage in Bihar at that time was a lot of it was ballot stuffing. But for the first time, I think we are looking at 7 out of 10 voters coming out and voting in a state like Bihar in a free, fair, and may I say, entirely violence-free election. I think that's a great testimony.
Largely incident-free, violence-free election. Before we take it to the seated guests, along with our, of course, good friend on Take 3, Rahul Shivshankar, consulting editor 2. We'll go to him in a bit. Just quickly going across to Arun Datta to understand and get a pulse of what happened on ground. Arun, what's the feeling on ground in terms of voter turnout? Are people saying this is unprecedented? Is it record tod?
Well, absolutely, Anand. I was in Simanchal region, as you were discussing, that it has a significant, political importance of that area. Of course, I was in two areas where I traveled today, Purnia and Katihar, and I could see the enthusiasm amongst the voters while they were standing. And thanks, of course, to the Election Commission, the way they conducted and the facilities which they provided to the voters in these areas, and therefore, in fact, the major issues which I found, because remember, Anand, 24 seats are very, very crucial in this. In 2012, NDA performed well by winning 12 seats. There was a polarization which worked in their favor. This time around, what is going to happen? Because see, Prime Minister Modi, Amit Shah, Yogi Adityanath, Rahul Gandhi, all of them, campaigned in this area very aggressively. The pitch of Prime Minister and Home Minister was about infiltration, demography change. And one thing that I have found, Anand, quickly, when I was speaking to the voters there, I felt this, the young voters, especially the girls who are studying there in the college, they're saying that law and order is a biggest catch for the voters, that they're saying that they can roam around in the evening, in the night these days. And also importantly, jobs and migration. These two are also issues in which, if you remember that the airport which has been inaugurated by Prime Minister Modi 2 months back, that is also helping a lot. I spoke to a gentleman. He is working in IT sector in Bangalore. He said, I took 3 times flight from Purnia to Karnataka, so that is also a big boost. And also importantly, Makhana board which has been established by central government, that is something which is giving high hopes to the people there, because the infrastructure and the facilities around that will increase. Remember that Purnia and Katihar
are a huge impetus to the farmer there in Bihar. Corn itself being used for the production of ethanol, Makhana board, and the cost of Makhana itself has risen more than 300 times, many people are saying, or at least 30 times if I were to discount that claim. But it's to huge profits, because that entire belt is the only one where these foxnuts grow in such large numbers, and this Makhana board is a big fillip, plus infrastructure. But all that matters. Rahul Shivshankar, as you take this forward, would you look at the percentage or would you want to look at the absolute numbers? Because the base of voters also comes down by 42 lakh this time.
Yeah, many people will say that this is a statistical illusion, but I think this goes beyond that. I think it also suggests that there has been, on both sides, an ability to reach out to their core base and bring them out to vote, which will hold obviously some significance in the end result as it is tabulated. Of course, the result before the result will be out in about 15-20 minutes, and one is very excited to see what's happening. The Satta Bazaar, as we know, the last few days has been veering more and more towards the NDA, and one always says follow the money, but on this particular channel we won't be doing that. We'll be following hardcore political instincts, as well as, of course, the data which will be revealed by the Election Commission. But fundamentally, I think that this particular turnout means that both sides have been able to rouse their voters out of any sense of ennui. That was half the problem in the last election, if you remember, for the NDA. They couldn't sort of bring some of their voters out. That's what we were told. The RSS didn't really take part in the campaign in a manner that it should have. Here things have changed. So one doesn't know, are these only NDA voters coming out to prove a point? Remember, this particular phase has a predominance of Muslim Yadav voters in a large number of seats, and we've done the maths earlier. we'd in fact discussed this over the last 2 or 3 days. So fundamentally, I think that this is a very, very important statistic. One can't ignore it, and I think it will have an impact in the end analysis.
Right. Nalin Mehta also joins us. So Nistula, starting with you, your thoughts. What's going to be your key takeaway for this election, or what is perhaps the one factor that would change it? The Satta Bazaar is actually saying the Congress will get less than 19 seats. There are 13 to 15 seats for the Congress. The JDU is supposed to have a far better strike rate than 2020. Yeah.
See, from the beginning, and I went to Bihar quite early on, even before the seat adjustment had been announced, and I'd spent some time there. I spoke to women voters and certain groups which were very crucial to different alliances, different parties. And the one thing that I found was that it was Nitish Kumar who was the fulcrum of this election. You see, his health, his ill health, whether or not this is going to be his last election, whether his supporters and the electorate in Bihar is in a mood to give him a good rousing farewell or consign him, to history. That was the question that is to be decided by this election, because he initiated a conversation, political conversation in 2005. He became the balancing factor between socialism and Hindutva in Bihar, and that conversation has continued. This is the last election of that conversation. I feel that beyond this, whatever that Nitish had been talking about, of getting over Jungle Raj, etc., that conversation ends now. You'll have to go beyond. The parties that will be competing in 2030 will have to go beyond that. So Nitish Kumar was both, as I said, the meta narrative and the subtext of this election.
Nitish Kumar. Nalin Babu, agree, disagree?
So one of the things that has been very unusual for me in tracking this election has been that when we look at our readership metrics, in this election, unlike others, there's been very little readership interest. That to me is surprising, because it kind of, when that happens, it tells you that a lot of people are expecting more of the same. There's very high interest in election where you expect a huge, satta parivartan and all of that. So that's one thing, but that may not mean much. My sense of this election is that if you look at the campaign and if you look at the issues that were raised, the issue is that Bihar has basically been in the same boat for the last 20-25 years. Right. And I think there's nothing new in this campaign. There's no X factor, no matter how much Prashant Kishore might say. The fact of the matter is, for most of the voters, is more of the same ho-hum. So, it's like there's no X factor which could change the game. And that, I think, is the big problem for Bihar voters in this
So how do you square that with the record voter turnout, as we were saying? I mean, just before we came, at 5 p.m. it's 67%, yes, go up to 70%. So clearly something is happening for the people to come out.
Looking at previous elections when votership data has gone up, psychologically, the evidence on that is very mixed. There is no evidence to show that high voter turnout necessarily means, which was the older conventional wisdom. It means that it's an anti-incumbency vote. There is no evidence to show that. It's actually 50-50. So it could well be that the election matters to people. The election matters to people because in Bihar, the state is what defines most of what people's jobs are, right? Or you migrate. Now, therefore, it might matter, but it is within an older fixed boundary, if you like, of the players.
Right. Umesh Shah, cephalogist, and Sandeep Shastri, National Coordinator, Lokniti Network, also with us. But first to the gents who are sitting in the middle. Rashid Kidwai, Rahul Verma. What do you think, Rashid?
Anand, first of all, I beg to disagree a bit. There is no direct correlation between the personal popularity of a leader and the outcome or, the election verdict. You look at Naveen Patnaik, you look at Amrinder Singh, you look at Atal Bihari Vajpayee of 2004. Very high popular rating, singular, one leader kind of thing. But the outcome was very different.
That's
Some would say about
Mr. Modi. Mr. Modi is personally very popular,
absolutely.
and therefore there is a Modi effect. I mean, when he's on the ticket, there's a 10% bump up.
Absolutely. So therefore, I think I give a lot of importance to the vote percentage, but it's welcoming for democracy. It may mean the kind of region and the demographic profile that Rahul Shivshankar was talking about. I think this rise 70% plus would signify, I would lean towards, Bihar heading for a big change.
Big change, a big change, or perhaps or reiteration that we are happy with where we are. Why fix what is?
Rahul had an interesting theory. Yes. I think the last time he came on air as to why the voting percentage is increasing.
So let me make 3 points. One, I think this is a historical turnout, right? So
is it?
Yeah. Because look at the data, if it E65 itself is highest ever, and what you are also going to see is greater. So The second phase always in Bihar for last 5 elections had higher turnout.
Right.
And so you will always also have greater turnout gap between men and women. So women are likely to turn out more. So that's a fact about Bihar. Now I think where I agree with Nistula, in some ways, see what is unique about this election, that this election is going to mark a historical closure to 35 years of politics of Lalu and Nitish, right? And in that sense, what might be happening is basically what Rahul Shivshankar said, is mobilization from both angles. So it's largely, again, not illusion, statistical effect, but also I think a mobilization effect where...
Well, in this case, what happens is this time around, Nitish Babu has been at the forefront along with PM Modi as far as the NDA campaign is concerned. But Laluji has become a small side effect. Amidst when Tejasvi has been projected.
Also, Anand, don't forget, Laluji was in jail, incarcerated. So it was Tejasvi's campaign even last time. I just feel that here there has been obviously some amount of traction in the messaging. There are people, and PK and the number of people that he attracted tells you that there is space for an alternative narrative. Now, whether these people trust Tejasvi Yadav, Rahul Gandhi, that combination to be the change, I don't know about that. And whether there has been a counter mobilization, two things I've told you. People have stopped reading your editorials. They have come out there and they are voting. Number two, all the trains.
He didn't need to say that on TV.
I'm just kidding. All the trains.
Your editorial, I mean
He's always dedicated newspapers with the newspaper in front
People
of
have stopped reading.
All the trains that were supposed to have been sort of not plied have obviously got the people.
No, not just got the people. They've stayed back, and Bihar voter makes the effort to go back. Just one sec. We got Rajiv Pratap Rudy also joining us along with Sandeep Shastri and Umesh Jha. Let's go across to them. Rajiv Rudy जी, आप तो बड़ी ऊंची उड़ान भर रहे हैं, पर आप ये बताइए कि सिवान और बिहार में कब आ?
सब ठीक बा.
सब ठीक बा.
सब ठीक बा. I was listening to all of you, and of course, you are talking about the voters' turnout, and of course, the first phase and the second phase. But I would like to remind you, this second phase of polling, wherever it is taking place, predominantly has been a bastion for the NDA. Now, if you want to say that this extra polling or extra polling is basically because there could be a change, I think it is reiteration or maybe validation of the existing government, the combination. This is my presumption, and I believe in it very strongly. When you're talking about Prashant Kishore creating upheavals, I would just like to clarify one thing, which most of you may have missed, or maybe a point which I have been adding throughout my discussions across, that you see for last 1 year, the space of the opposition, which should have been Rashtriya Janata Dal and Congress in Bihar, was taken away by Prashant Kishore. So every forum in Delhi, outside Delhi, in Delhi, Bombay, everyone was talking about Prashant Kishore. But by the time election came, the space was, the contest was between the choice between Lalu Prasad Yadav or Nitish Kumar, or for that matter, Rahul Gandhi and Narendra Modi. The political space which should have been there with Prashant Kishore was diminished because he did not contest elections. He does not have a caste vote bank. He was talking of replacing the entire government, and throughout his campaign he was talking against BJP and the NDA. He never talked about RJD. RJD and the Congress always thought that he's already doing much harm. The benefit will come with us. Ultimately, what happened? Prashant Kishore vanishes away. He doesn't exist in the contest today, apart from default where he is there. And the Congress and the RJD, which should have had the space of the opposition, is gone. There is a positive contribution in the state of the state government, and there is a matter of perception. The perception yet is when you talk about Lalu Yadav or Tejasvi Yadav, people still do not talk Tejasvi as a leader in Bihar. Please remember, we also talk about Lalu Yadav as the face of politics in Bihar as far as Rashtriya Janata Dal is concerned. So all this, if you can analyze, will ultimately conclude to a point that there is a complete positive voting or a positive voting for the NDA, which I can perceive. So this could, if you would like to ask questions on this, this is my perception.
Mr. Rudy, you said that no one perceives Tejasvi as a leader.
Yes, please.
Look, the outcome obviously suggests that the NDA won the last time, but it's not as if Tejasvi or the RJD did not get any seats. I think Tejasvi did a fabulous job.
Can I explain something?
Running with a Congress party that didn't really add any muscle to his campaign.
Yes, can I explain this numerically? So Bihar is the only state in the country where Yadavs are 22% and Muslims are roughly about 18%. So this comes to roughly about a big portion of Bihar voters is between say around 32-33%. 18 and 12 would be how much? 18 and 12 is about 32%. But fortunately,
30. 22 and 18 is 40, 18 and 12 is 30. Yeah, ji.
18 and 12, I'm sorry, I've got the figures, 18 and 12. Now please remember, there are 70 seats in Bihar where the concentration of Yadavs and Muslims are there, which will even if Tejasvi would not have moved out of his house, he would have got this 65 to 70 seats every time. The question is whether he is able to muster another 7 to 8% is a big question. Now, the entire Congress doesn't add up much because the forward votes, which symbolizes the Congress party in Bihar, is not with the RJD or the RJD or the Congress yet. It is still with the BJP per se and the other forces. So if you all have to analyze it this way, you can have different logic to say that your entire argument for last 2-3 days, or all the journalists are saying, large turnout against the government, people, I think it's completely wrong.
No, they can say 2005 when Nitish Babu came, Zaka was putting out the numbers, 40% voting, very little voting when Nitish Babu came when Sarkar palta. So the voter did not come out to vote for RJD. Those who wanted to vote for Nitish Babu, they came, and that's how the numbers happened. It's one of the lowest numbers in 2005. So Bihar itself shows that. But let's go. Rajiv ji, please stay on with us. We are doing the mega exit poll here at News 18. So quickly taking you through the methodology before we go to Umesh Jha and Sandeep Shastri ji. Poll methodology, 122 Vidhan Sabha constituencies have been covered out of the 243, 255 interviews in each constituency. 15 polling booths have been picked via random sampling, structured questionnaire in Hindi via app and field work on the day and day after polling for phase 1, and for phase 2 respondents have been asked on polling day. Every interview has been geotagged for authenticity. So that's how this exit poll is going to be done, being done. We will have the numbers trickling in about 15 minutes, basis phase 1, and then phase 2, the consolidated numbers by about 7:30. Umesh ji, please tell us what's been the response on ground and what should we expect? Is it going to be closer or leaning? The trend is towards the Satta Bazaar predictions, or is there something different?
Well, I've seen the numbers for phase 1 so far, and from phase 1 numbers, we can conclude that NDA will do relatively better than what they did in 2020 election in the constituencies which went to polls in phase 1. And the important part here is that this improvement will be largely because of better performance by JDU. So BJP will more or less consolidate on where it was. It's JDU which will improve its tally from 2020.
So JDU strike rate will be better, and that many people are predicting. Did you get a sense of why? Is it because of Nitish Babu? Is it because of the fact that the Modi-Nitish combo was actively projected right through?
It's the LJP factor. In 2020, there were about 33 seats where JDU could have won if LJP was contesting as part of NDA.
Right.
But that didn't happen. So out of those 33 seats, I see that there are about 21 seats which are in phase 1 this time. And out of the 21 seats, JDU seems to be winning 15-16 seats out of that. So that's adding to the tally of NDA.
Right.
And that consolidation of NDA votes is perhaps what is making the most important difference here.
Very interesting. Will be interesting to see, will LJP return the kind of strike rate that it's expected, because it's pulled about 29 seats to itself. Now many believe bahut zyada de diya to Chirag Paswan. Will he actually live up to that expectation? Nalin Mehta has a point, and then Sandeep ji, please weigh in. Yes,
On
Nalin
the
Mehta.
JDU factor, I want to add to what Nisala was saying. In the Lok Sabha of 2024 results, the JDU seat share was up to 72 from 43 last time, if you extrapolate the Lok Sabha to the Vidhan Sabha, which meant the strike rate went up significantly. A lot of that was because of the surprise that happened with LJP last time, LJP cutting a lot of votes and so on. This time, they're all fighting together, while there have been issues within the alliance. At the moment, if the JDU is going to be in the forefront, and I think it is at the moment, and let's wait for the election results or the exit poll results, then you might be seeing a replication of the 2024 kind of matrix, where the JDU strike rate increases significantly, the BJP remains more or less similar to where it was, and RJD and Congress go further down compared to 2020. That's what happened in 2024. The question is, what has changed in Patna between 2024 to now? We have not seen any significant evidence of a massive shift on the ground from that matrix.
Right. Rajiv Rudi has limited time with us. So Rajiv ji, just quickly asking, MY factor, Mahila youth, Mahila Yuva or Muslim Yadav? क्या बढ़ चढ़ के बोलेगा सर?
नहीं, Muslim Yadav to always speaks in a loud tone, and that is what scares everyone away. And I have an experience, if you can count my experience, though I can speak slight bit of English too. 7 terms in parliament, 1 term as an MLA. I can see it on the ground, and I have been moving around in the state, in my assembly constituency, in my parliament, and across North Bihar. North Bihar always fares better than the South Bihar, but this election South Bihar is faring well. And now it's a quiet voting. People are not speaking, there is no wave, and there is no anti-wave against the government. And there is some credibility which is there with the government. When he talked about LJP would not add seats, but the overall political combination which has emerged, or the combination has sent a message for all of them to vote together. So that factor, and I would still agree, because on ground when I was visiting BJP seats and when I was visiting JDU seats, I would feel that JDU is gaining, BJP would certainly retain its position. Government in Bihar will certainly be this time again for NDA, because you all must remember, this is a phase when Bihar will see an end of Lalu Yadav, and possibly also with age coming in on leadership on my side or the NDA side also. But it is, till date, it is a battle drawn between Nitish Kumar and Lalu Yadav, and Narendra Modi and Rahul Gandhi. So obvious, the results are obvious, and this could be my
इलाका में सब सेफ है
explanation.
सारण में?
नहीं, हमारा इलाका तो सबसे खतरनाक है बिहार के राजनीति में. मैं खुद ही लालू जी से पिछले 40 साल से लड़ता रहा हूं. I've been contesting him 40 years, and there is not a single member in his family who have not fought or won or lost. So even his daughter last time. So no one can have a better experience about Lalu Raj in Bihar than Chapla and Rajiv Pratap Rudi with 35 years of contest against him. So possibly you can next time you can put me on the panel, and I would be very dispassionate in my opinion, and come back and I promised me to give a check, and I can give you better feedback on the subject.
Ji, okay sir.
So great, thank you. Thank you,
always a pleasure speaking
best.
with you. Thank you sir. Sandeep Shastri ji,
Bye,
thank you
bye,
for your
sir. Bye
patience.
to
You've been
everybody.
listening to everybody's opinion. Thank you Rajiv ji. Sandeep ji, how do you see Bihar? What's happening? We're going to have the numbers very soon. Ji.
Thank you, Zaka. It was wonderful listening to colleagues on the panel. This is the challenge of being online in such a program. I think I would make 2-3 points. One, the higher voter turnout both in phase 1 and phase 2. I don't think either side should say it is beneficial to them, because there is no past empirical evidence to show that higher voter turnout helps the defender or helps the challenger. What seems to be crucial in Bihar this time is 2 factors. The MY you referred to, but not the MY which was looked at by Rajiv ji. I think the MY crucial this time is the Mahila and the youth. A higher woman voter turnout as last time, I think will be advantage NDA. And a higher youth turnout is something that can be, both parties are not sure which direction it will move. With 1 out of every 4 voters being youth, the highest anywhere in the country, in the age group of 18 to 29. These are voters who have a strong sense of expectation. These are voters who are aspirational. These are voters who are looking for jobs in Bihar. These are voters who are looking for good skill and employment opportunities in Bihar. And they would look at both the NDA and the Gathbandhan and decide where is the trust quotient higher.
But these are also voters who have not seen Lalu Raj. They have only seen Nitish Raj.
Yeah.
Yes, these are voters who have been socialized in the last 20. These have been voters who have been socialized in the last 20 years, much of which has seen Nitish Kumar ji as the chief minister.
Well, Sandeep ji, this is Anand here who's been asking you the question. Zaka is coming in now.
No. So I want to make a point about this higher voter turnout. I think increasingly there is evidence to show that a higher voter turnout happens when there is greater mobilization by both sides. So in this case, for example, in phase 2, if it ends up with 70%, which means 7 out of 10 voters have come out and exercised their franchise, which means both sides had equal motivation to come out and vote. In this case, I think, somebody had mentioned this on the panel the other day as well, is that the JDU voter, the NDA voter knows that this is probably Nitish Kumar's last election, right? So we don't want to retire him in a way that is not befitting for what he's done over the last 20 years. So generally the incumbent voter is less motivated than the anti-incumbent voter, because the anti-incumbent voter is angry, wants to change, is not happy with the existing situation. So there is greater motivation for the anti-incumbent voter to come out. Whereas in this case, because there's mobilization from both sides, because on the incumbent side it has been made out that we have to give a fitting farewell to the incumbent, that's why you're seeing a higher voter turnout. That's why you're seeing closer to 70%.
And the other thing is this whole vote chori thing.
The last election,
2012,
Yeah.
when he said that, I'm sorry, that, I've had bereavements in my family and this is my last election. And there was so much anti-incumbency against the Akalis and they still won.
They still won. But here, Nitish has not said this is my last election. It's not been said explicitly anywhere. The other thing is this vote chori will work only if my vote is absent. The number of people who are saying that my name is not there in the voter list is not as big as the amount that it was made, and there is a variance between Tejaswi and Rahul Gandhi in terms of what should be the issue on which the opposition should come together as a plank. Tejaswi was trying to focus on jobs, on bar, etc., and he was saying no, let's push vote chori, and that there itself the opposition seemed disjointed. But is that going to be a factor? We'll wait and say. Yes, Rahul.
So I want to make 2 points. One, I think on the JDU performance, because the suggestion from every corner is that the JDU is likely to perform better compared to past. One reason could be basically it was hurt in 2020 because of LJP, but I think what is also happening that JDU might be actually benefiting from a pro-incumbency wave, which is rare in elections after 4 terms. And this is like not just a sympathy factor. I think what seems to be happening, Nistula said, and I have read different reports in various newspapers, I think Nitish Kumar is emerging as a pan-Bihar sort of like a figure who can be in the middle in a very, very polarized politics and keep that middle voter,
But
you will
wasn't
say,
that always the case, Rahul? That was always the case for the last 20 years.
But see, the difference between 2020 and 2025 is that 2020 was like a election which was basically, you didn't have any mobilization, right? There was much more fatigue. The question is what actually changed between 2020 or 2024 and 2025 that Nitish is basically seen as this kind of
I want to add one more point to what Nalin said. There is a big difference between the 24 election and the 25 election. That is Mr. Modi. Mr. Modi is not on the ticket this time around, whereas he was in 2024 And I think that's a big difference. I mean, people vote differently in parliamentary and in assembly elections.
The difference is that something has shifted, which is that you're right, the BJP does not have a ground leader in Bihar, and that's a big issue for the BJP.
Yeah.
So Mr. Modi is the sort of the big vote catcher in the center. With RJD, and I think there's a substantial difference between UP and Bihar, which is that unlike Akhilesh in UP, who managed to broad base and build a much larger social coalition by giving tickets to many more people outside the Yadav Muslim alliance. Tejasvi has not done that. If you look at the ticket selection, he's fought this election. The last election, 2020, he fought very much like the insurgent candidate who was going to be the real challenger. This election, he's fought much more like a local regional satrap where he's not really expanded this ticket selection to areas outside of the Yadavs and Muslims. So it's appealing much more to the converted and not necessarily to the middle ground. And Rahul Gandhi
but before we get the first data, it's just about 3-4 minutes that before we put the first one. Let's get Zaka on the wall and try and understand which are the big factors. You know, Mahila Yuva, if you can say phase 1, phase 2, where did the women actually vote and which seats?
Yeah,
can we just quickly look at as we get the first predictions out? Yeah.
Yeah, so, everybody's been talking about the Mahila vote. So we looked at the 2020 data, and in the 2020 data, the women outvoted men by 5% statewide. But we were looking at those seats where the women outvoted men by 10%, which means for every 10 male voters, there was one extra woman voter. There were 11 women voters for every 10 male voters. And a lot of those seats, 71 out of those 243 seats, 71 of those seats were in northern Bihar. They were either in Simanchal or they were in Mithilanchal, or there were a couple of seats up in the Champarans, in the 2 Champarans. But the point is, all of these seats, a large number of these 71 went to polls today. I think 4 out of 7 out of these seats went to polls today, and that's why one reason also, we haven't got the gender-wise breakup of the turnout. One reason could also be that the number of women have outvoted the men again in substantial terms, just like what we saw in 2020. The other factor, of course, you've talked about migrants and how they play an important role. Just very quickly, again, we looked at those districts. We took the top 10 districts where there is maximum outflow of migrants, people who leave Bihar in search of work. So you have a whole bunch of these constituencies in the middle part of the state, which is sort of, in the northern part of the Ganga, north of the Ganga. So you have a whole bunch of seats here. And you have a couple of districts down in the south, Sasaram, Aurangabad, Jahanabad, etc. So it again amounts to almost 100 seats, 97 out of 243. Here too, the NDA had, in a close election from the last time, the NDA had almost a 2 to 3 kind of a ratio, where the MGB had just 40 seats, the NDA had almost 60 seats. So it was like a 4-6 kind of a ratio. But I think these two factors, remember the 2020 election was also about migrant labor. It was about these folks walking back home 2,000 kilometers, 3,000 kilometers in the middle of COVID. So that was a big factor in this election. This time around, is it as much of a potent factor? I don't know. And also there was a novelty around Tejasvi Yadav last time when he said, I'm the youth leader, I'm going to give you jobs, I'm this, I'm that. It appealed to a large cross section, especially amongst young voters. Whereas this time around, does it not? There's also PK. All right, we've got the first.
Right, we've got the first set of numbers. So Zaka's timed it perfectly, viewers. So let's quickly get a sense of the first set of numbers, and these are projections after phase 1. So phase 1 projections, these are the mega exit poll numbers. Phase 1 projections, 60 to 70 seats in phase 1. The NDA out of the 121 that went to the ballot, so they are running away. Phase 1 was the NDA's weakest in 2020. They actually made gains in phase 2 and 3. This time around, Bihar goes to polls in just 2 phases. The INDIA alliance is 45 to 55. They had better numbers the last time around. Jan Suraj not opening its account, others not opening its account. So it's a two-way race so far as the first 121 seats is concerned. But if it is 60 to 70 seats for the NDA, are they already home? Are they already home before the stronger of the 2 phases manifests for the NDA? And if it's nearly 70% voter turnout, then is this a runaway? Is this a better performance? And we'll also try and see if this is because of the fact that within the NDA, the JDU turns a far better strike rate than the last time around. Is that the factor that's contributing to both the BJP, JDU, and of course the alliance partners in the NDA, the LJP, the HAM, all doing well? Did they come into play in phase 1? We'll have to wait and watch. These are the first set of numbers that we are putting out. 60 to 70 seats for the NDA, 45 to 55 for the INDIA. We have a party-wise breakup. We'll try and play that out also. What is the party-wise breakup as to which party is doing well within the first phases? We'll try and put that out also. So out of the 121 seats out of 243 in the first phase, the numbers at the News 18 mega exit polls say that the NDA will get 60 to 70 seats, the INDIA 45 to 55, so the 2 to 3 ratio somewhere is being maintained. And if it's a runaway on the higher end for the NDA and the lower end for the INDIA, that means the target of 160 that's been set could be breached by the time the 243 seats results come through. Now, if that happens, it will be a historic win and a historic election for the NDA at a time when the BJP centrally is seen at its weakest in the last 12 years, in the last 3 terms, and at a time when many thought that Nitish Babu does not have the magic. Does he once again prove all his detractors and the political pundits wrong and come back stronger than ever before at a time when the opposition said, ye thak gaye hain, ye so gaye hain, ye bimar hai. All these things were talked about Nitish Kumar, but is he sharp, is he alert, and does Bihar still echo or resonate with Nitish? Now, quickly, your thoughts, Rashid Kidwai, is this possible in phase 1? Last time around,
we have a breakup of the individual seats.
We're just waiting for those numbers to come. We'll try and get those numbers here on the big screen.
Do you want to go through?
Yeah. You got the numbers, so let's take the conversation.
So the numbers
forward.
of the individual parties, and this is the point that Rahul was also making. So the BJP in this phase is contesting 48 seats. The number for the BJP is 20 to 30. The JDU is contesting 57 seats. It's contesting more than the BJP, about 9 more than the BJP. The JDU's number is 35 to 45 out of 57. So the JDU strike rate is higher than that of the BJP. Smaller parties, again, Chirag Paswan, anywhere between 0 to 5 out of the 13 seats he's contesting. On the other side, opposition side, the RJD is fighting in 72 seats, of which it's projected to get 25 to 35 seats. The INC is fighting 24 seats. The Congress party is projected to get only 5 to 10 seats. All the left parties put together, CPI, CPM, CPI-ML, are fighting 14 seats together. They are expected to get anywhere, they're fighting 14 plus, I think about 25 seats between all of them. They are expected to get 10 seats. So you're right about the point that you made, that the JDU strike rate could well end up becoming higher than that of the BJP. Of course, like I said, the JDU is contesting more seats in this.
It's there at the bottom, that 35 to 45 seats for the JDU at the bottom of the screen.
The fact is, and please bear me out on this, that it appears that the LJP is actually having a knock-on effect on the alliance, and so is the HAM and the RLM specific, not the HAM, but the LJP and the other. Vote conversion for JDU seems to have helped the JDU quite a bit.
Maybe, but that's like, I don't have an answer to this question. See, I think if this number holds, then what we are seeing is that LJP and HAM are not performing as well as they were expected to perform. They did really well in Lok Sabha, where LJP actually won, I think, 7 out of 7 Lok Sabha seats or 5 out of 5 Lok Sabha seats. But at Vidhan Sabha level, they are not being able to pull up. This could be one, that perhaps the Dalit voters stay with them, but they are not able to attract the upper caste or EBC, one of those 2 voters with them. And if you remember, like the JDU, like Nitish Kumar and Chirag Paswan friendship is not there, right? So we don't know what might be happening.
So I did a round of calls after the first phase of polling, because everybody does a reporting meeting right after that, all parties. So I also did my rounds with people. And the first thing that was said, even from the BJP leadership, was that yes, JDU's strike rate is going to be as good as the BJP strike rate. The JDU said that the all NDA meetings that were done in the run-up to the polls has helped them, because they were really counting on this time around the LJP being on board, and that those 32 seats where they were hurt, they're planning to recover. Even if they recover 15 of them, they said we're pretty much home. But one important thing that your findings don't reflect is a lot of worry in the NDA camp about Prashant Kishore. There were at least 2 seats in Patna city that the NDA was worried about कि ये फंस गई हैं.
But it's showing 0 though.
Seats. Yeah, but their reporting, their assessment was that Prashant Kishore has managed to get, even in Patna, he has managed to get
seats,
some.
but they might get enough votes to
a
damage
certain
the
amount of
chances.
vote share. But in terms of the, we're seeing the party breakup at the bottom of the screen, viewers, and you can have a look at that. Say out of the 60 to 70 NDA seats, 20 to 30 to the BJP, 35 to 45 to the JDU, the LJP is 0 to 5. Now, the LJP factor, Chirag Paswan, overweightage of 29 seats, did he actually merit that? That's a question many people are asking. last time he was the attack dog who was sent after or set after Nitish Kumar in phase 1, and before they tried to soothe things down and calm things down, phase 2 and 3. That's when they said no, Nitish Babu and Chirag.
The thing is, Anand, the one factor that the BJP will probably be looking over its shoulder. I don't know. This is just phase 1. The JDU does well. Obviously, the dependency on the JDU increases. Let's not forget that even at the center.
I think they are very clear this time that they don't mind the dependency.
No, I'm just saying that it's an interesting
about revolving around Nitish Kumar and JDU. If JDU, does well, then obviously there is no way that the alliance would not win. The ruling alliance will not win. But I find I'm not contesting the numbers of this survey. After all, we must remember this is an exit poll, and this is a kind of estimated projection. There is something is different. I mean, we are saying in Mahagathbandhan, how is that left is doing so well? In the sense that the strike rate is about 50%.
No, but the left did well last time around also. The left did well last time. In fact, the left had as much seats as I think the Congress. They had 15 in all, and the Congress had 19.
Zakato, last time it was a very close election. This time it is become, what if we go by this, it's a one-sided election.
Well, yeah.
In that sense.
If the same trend holds, you're looking at 130 to 140.
But I'm saying
within the Mahagathbandhan, the left seems to be far more potent in its strike rate, and there's a reason why it was fighting and demanding more seats compared to the others, because of what it thought it was getting a sense on ground, that the left parties were gaining ground, and the hardcore left and communists were coming back and saying grouping together rather than drifting towards the Congress or the RJD. They were ready in these pockets where the left is doing its work on ground.
No, the other thing that's a constant from last time, in fact, it's worse for the Congress party, is that their strike rate is going to be even worse than compared to 2020.
In terms of ticket distribution, they have undergone a very big change from being upper caste party primarily
jettisoned the upper caste party.
It doesn't seem to be working.
Classes,
They're still at 5 to 10 out of the.
But I think it's better to wait till 14.
I'm just asking, for all the mahal that they tried to build, what is the purchase on ground if this is the impact on phase 1? Rahul?
No, obviously there is a crisis there for the Congress. It's messaging completely off the mark. Look, I mean, one has to preface all one's remarks by suggesting that let's wait till the 14th, but fundamentally it does.
The only difference in Rahul Shivshankar's case is they take clips of him and put it on Twitter. Poor Mr. Kesari didn't have to deal with that.
परिणाम चौंका देने वाले होंगे, हम चौंकेंगे या वो चौंकेंगे देखेंगे.
No, but the fact of the matter is that, look, fundamentally the Congress is not clearly adding to the numbers of the, if you just look at the numbers, the RJD's conversion rate is not that bad. It's not hopeless, it's veering towards the 50% mark.
Rahul, there is one thing that the Congress has managed to do in this election, which is that completely keep out the AIMIM of the fray.
Yeah.
Uncontrovertibly, the entire Muslim vote, minority vote, has gone towards the Mahagathbandhan, largely because of Rahul Gandhi and the Congress, and the stances that he has taken. Not just in this election, but progressively in the past.
But Nisla, the problem is this: in 5 years, if they have gone to an even lesser strike rate than what they won last time, 19 out of 70, this time it could be 10 out of 61.
Well, that's the problem of not building your political program.
How does that justify, whatever position he's taking?
No, we try to see if we can get Umesh Jha back on the thing, because he's putting out the numbers. But these numbers, the projections at the News 18 mega exit polls show that the left strike rate is better even than the RJD in phase 1. That's a trend, even though they're contesting lesser number of seats. But 10 to 15 seats out of the 30 contested, it's quite intense. Yeah.
But compared to 2020, if this number holds, the strike rate for every constituent within MGB is lower. Even last time, RJD has a 50% strike rate, left had more than 50% strike rate, and Congress had like around 20-25% strike rate. This time everyone's strike rate is low in MGB.
नो सर, ये देखिए 22 सीटें लेफ्ट का ग्रुपिंग, सीपीआई एमएल, सीपीआई सीपीआईएम.
हाँ तो 22 में 10 जीत रहे ना, तो
50 में 10 से 15 का प्रोजेक्शन. अगर 12 जीत गया तो आप मान लीजिए 12 पकड़ लीजिए.
हाँ तो 50% हुआ ना, but last time it was 70%.
हाँ,
but their vote is also a much more concentrated vote in the southern part of the state, the old, Naxal belt as it was known.
Right. So there are some other projections also that have come in, viewers. So let's get a quick check on the poll of polls. News 18 is also doing the mega poll of polls. So what are the others reporting? Some of the other pollsters, what are they saying? most of them are calling it in favor of the NDA. Some of them it's a runaway win. Look at Matriz. Matriz has come out and said that there is a 20-seat margin plus minus based on the vote share, but 147 to 167. So it's a clear runaway win this election for the NDA. The INDIA 70 to 90 seats. JSP could break into the metric with 0 to 2 seats, but the others are not getting too much. Now, if you look at the JVC poll, again 150 seats at the top for the NDA, 88 to 103 mark for the INDIA. But look at the overall average. There are those who believe that the INDIA could breach the 100 mark, but somewhere these numbers are very, very solid for the NDA. Is this now perhaps sealing the fact that the BJP, JDU plus HAM plus LJP is too difficult to beat for the MJP? Look at these numbers, the poll of poll numbers. Overall, if you were to see, the average or the median is about 140 seats for the NDA. Somewhere if you were to see, comes around between the 140, 145 number for the NDA, and for the INDIA or the opposition, the MJP viewers, the number, if you want to look at it, somewhere around 80 seats. 80, 82 seats is what they are saying the MJP will get. Jan Swaraj Party may not open its account if you look at the overall aspect, and others, there are others who could draw anywhere between 4 to 5 seats, 3 to 4 seats if you were to look at these numbers. Now, Dainik Bhaskar, People's Insight, JVC poll, Matriz, and of course the News 18 phase 1 projections. We'll get you the phase 2 numbers in a bit. Nalin Mehta, your thoughts?
What if these numbers hold up, and like Rahul was saying, we have to preface every comment with that. If they do hold up, it kind of is a huge vote of confidence for the Nitish model and for this alliance. And there's a couple of things to be said on that, because Bihar is one of the worst performing states in the country on both on nominal GDP and on GSDP and on real GSDP. However, so if you look at FDI numbers, if you look at growth numbers, even Jharkhand grows faster than Bihar, right? So what explains this governance model or this political model after 4? One of the things that Bihar has done well, despite having very little investment, like last year it just got FDI of 215 million. There are no jobs in Bihar, but Bihar has very high social sector spending. Bihar spends about half of its revenue receipts on social spending, and that model has been at the heart of the Nitish Kumar model from the beginning, so starting with funding for women and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So while the state is unable to enable the conditions for capital investment, for private sector and jobs and all of that, which is why you have the migrant factor which is so big in Bihar. For those that remain, the state is providing a safety net which is better than before, and that has got something to do with the otherwise you would have a massive change. So it's an interesting model, I think, and now with the freebies that have been promised by both sides, the numbers just don't stack up. If the cost of 60,000 crores, if the Margaret Mandan's promises are to be fulfilled, and about 36,000 crores of the NDA's promises are to be fulfilled.
No, but so I asked this on the first day of polling as well, Rahul. I mean, isn't this at some level a failure of the political opposition there, that they're not able to make this the number one issue, that there's a lack of jobs, there's a lack of employment opportunities, that young people have to leave, and a lot of young people are talking about that. I mean, why do we have to get out of the state?
I mean, 1 in 4 voters are youth voters in the state, and I've already brought out through the statistics that were collected on the back of a TAS survey, if you remember, the economic survey that was conducted in Bihar, that a large number of them are earning less than 6,000 rupees. It's a hugely remittance economy. Everyone is sort of out of the state. There are no jobs to be had, hardly any industry. But the fact of the matter is, if you've got one leader who is a challenger talking about SIR and another one talking about bread and butter issues, and both of them are not being able to marry what they believe should be the common narrative. Fundamentally, a day before polling, you have Rahul Gandhi talking about Haryana and vote chori in Haryana. Look at the message that is going out. Look at PK, for instance, and someone mentioned that they didn't even have a manifesto out. So fundamentally, you have a problem where I think the voter is saying that, look, better the devil we know. We're better off with one law. Let's stick with them. We don't quite know what we're going to face on the other side. That's my only. That's
but Rahul, we know in
credibility of
elections, we know in the applied side of politics in elections, it is not manifesto, but it's money that matters. And for the first time in Bihar, money has come in a. Let me complete. Bihar money has come in a big way, both informal way or in a formal way also. 10,000 rupees going to women. Of course, it is also perhaps would if these numbers hold true, would be a game changer. It's a different thing. I can always comment that it took 20 years for people to realize that the women deserve 10,000 rupees, or women deserve or the economy deserves that makhana and makai they were talking about. What was Nitish Kumar doing for 20 years?
If, but that's also a question to the opposition. No, I mean if nothing has happened, why are they not able to pin it on him?
I think Tejasvi, who is a face of the opposition in Bihar, made constantly from the day one kept making that Berozgari, unemployment as a major issue. You can mock Rahul Gandhi and go on, but Rahul Gandhi was making a very different point.
There was a period of time when Mr. Tejasvi Yadav, not so long ago, was in power.
No, it's like
saying why didn't he in 20 days create this massive?
I have an important question to ask. Irrespective of whether people bought it or not, if the result is true, Rashid, what does this mean for Rahul Gandhi? Now, after 2024, then this would be the third big reverse, right? You would have Haryana, you would have Maharashtra, and now Bihar. What does it mean for Rahul Gandhi and this whole campaign of vote chori and all of that, right? What does it mean really?
See, first of all, I think it is wrong and very casual to link, such issues to, outcome. We have first past the post system, and that verdict is acceptable. But the verdict doesn't mean that it would end all those allegations on some of them.
So he himself is saying that the Yuva must vote on this issue.
Absolutely. But if Yuvas have not voted, that doesn't mean the issue is settled.
No, see, sir, it is not that, sir.
Free and fair elections are very important.
May I very humbly present a sporting analogy?
Yeah.
Right. Sir, you don't take a tennis racket to a cricket match. Whatever is the pitch and whatever is the issue there, you have to use the instrument that works there. Correct.
But the umpire need not be Shakur Rana.
No, and you don't. No, it is not even. What's the point? What's the point?
He just took a cricket bat to a tennis match.
I remember Tribune had a headline that Zavid has given LBW in Pakistan.
No, but how does it matter who the umpire is when you yourself have taken a tennis racket to a cricket match? So that's simple. That's
a serious question here. Not just about Rahul, but also about Tejasvi. This would be the second election we would have lost, and this is Lalu's last thing, right? What does it mean for RJD? Because RJD is a family-held party. We've seen what's happened to Shiv Sena and so on post Bal Thackeray. Now Lalu is still around, but if this result is there, does it change things for RJD?
Okay, this is I was saying something, and then Rahul Verma.
They formed party BJP in 1980. They came to power in 1996 for 13 days. So these political parties, you see,
you need to have a plan.
I want to go back to the original question: is why did it take 20 years for all of this to happen? The point is that in 2000, after 2005, when Nitish came to power around 2008 or around about 10, there were a huge number of stories that were done on the massive growth rate that Bihar's economy has suddenly shown. It had beat Gujarat and everything. The point was that the baseline was so low that whatever it showed an 11% growth rate, whereas a developed state like Gujarat, it was at 3% or 4%, and it was doing, of course, far better. But these are things that were being compared.
And not absolute numbers, but percentiles.
This is your tennis and cricket ball here. So it took some time, and the point is that if an opposition that was being made out to be the percussor of a jungle raj, so to speak, if they build up a campaign on jobs, etc., there is a degree of trust that is required, right? That was not getting. When I spoke to women, and I said, look, Nitish Kumar is not extremely well. There's a lot of gossip and talk going around that, BJP will remove him, halfway through his this thing. So do you still believe that he will give? He said, they said he will give. Otherwise, Modi ji will give. But Laltan will not give, we know it.
We know it. So there is a hedging of the risk in terms of the trust factor.
So there was a level of debate that had to be crossed.
We'll go to that after Rahul Verma speaks. He's been putting his hand up and we've not given him a chance.
So just quickly 2 points. I think let's not reduce the election outcome to money, because if money can help, but if that was the only thing, then Jagan Mohan shouldn't have lost, Naveen Patnaik should not have lost, and incumbents would not lose, right? So I think if BJP or NDA comes back to power, I think it would be a combination of factors. Second point, I think Tejasvi did try to, at the end, make unemployment, jobs, palayan an issue. But the problem is two things. One, he came at that very last moment without any plan, and it's just like throw the number, right? You should have shown that there is a serious commitment to the unemployment issue, and you should have done some sort of like math to it. It become more problematic because of Prashant Kishore's continuous attack. That this person has not studied, even after being Chief Minister's son, he cannot have a plan, right? So what the challenge Tejasvi or even Nalin, what was he was pointing about with family parties is that they have both an advantage, which is that they get a legacy, so they have a 30% vote to begin with, but they also carry the burden of that legacy.
Right. I'll be honest, this time around, didn't go to Bihar, but I met Biharis in New Zealand. I met Biharis here in Noida. I met Biharis in Bangalore. 2-3 things which was common across all, thousands of miles apart, and this one. One, बाढ़ का कुछ कीजिए. बाढ़ का solution कौन देगा? हमको जितना the displacement because of floods which is happening is an issue. Nobody has spoken about it, and find a solution for that was a core issue. Not many parties raised it. Second thing they said, कुछ लोग 20 साल से एक जगह से उनका घर का constituency है, पर घर से गंगा पार जो है, they could not build a puliya. This puliya has been built by Nitish and Modi. Then Patna mein airport, Purnia mein airport. हमने जिंदगी में we didn't even dream, did not even dream that this is going to happen. So if they can do this, and the last one, 10,000 रुपया दिया है, so this came from the ground also, that अगर पैसा दिया है तो उसका हिसाब जो कहते हैं ना नून का हिसाब, जो नमक का हिसाब, that will have to be. That came from Arunima was also talking about that. Even on ground, there were people who said the same thing. But this came from a collective Bihari sentiment. That was the other.
Sandeep
Shastri. Yeah, Sandeep Shastri ji, yes sir.
Finally you came to me.
That is the reason why, this is Anand here, that's the reason why we request you and urge you to come and join us in the studio. Sometimes there are so many in the studio, we forget there is somebody outside. Please go ahead, sir. Go ahead. Your thoughts on these numbers so far?
I think if the numbers which you have just now discussed is what we will see on Friday, I think it's very clear that the Mahagathbandhan was not able to get its act together. The Congress was clearly the weak link in that alliance. There was no meeting of minds, no similarity of voice in the campaign. And on the